Chapter 41:10. All in all, the three of them were very satisfied. This time, they had accumulated more than 1 million merit points. 1 million merit points was enough to become a first-class celestial soldier. Ha, let's go and become first-class celestial soldiers. Not only can we have first-class celestial armors, we can also cultivate on the third floor of the Fortune Tower. There are many benefits. Dandan exclaimed, quickly adjusting his attitude. Let's go. Lu Ming said. There were many benefits to becoming a first-class celestial soldier. There was no reason not to. As long as they accumulated 1 million merit points, they could be promoted, regardless of whether they spent them or not. The three of them immediately set off for the Military Affairs Department of Dreamsky City. The Military Affairs Department was responsible for the promotion and management of celestial soldiers and celestial generals. At the same time, celestial armors could be obtained here. Soon, the three of them arrived in front of a large hall. What are you doing here? Two celestial soldiers stopped Lu Ming's group at the entrance of the hall. We're here to become celestial soldiers. Dandan said. Become celestial soldiers? The two celestial soldiers looked at Lu Ming's group confidently and asked, What rank are you? We're all going to become first-class celestial soldiers. Dandan replied. The three of you are going to become first-class celestial soldiers? Are you sure? One of the celestial soldiers widened his eyes in disbelief. That's right. Dandan nodded again. Ha. Suddenly, the two celestial soldiers burst into laughter, then looked at Dandan and said, You're joking, right? With your cultivation, you want to become first-class celestial soldiers? That's impossible. Alright, the Military Affairs Department is not a place for jokes. I'll give you a chance to leave immediately. Otherwise, I'll report it and you'll be punished. What? Those three want to become first-class celestial soldiers? The commotion here alarmed the nearby people. There were many celestial soldiers coming and going in the Military Affairs Department. Many of them looked curiously at Lu Ming's group. Lu Ming's group of three was only at the 5th Godly Emperor realm. It was simply impossible for them to become first-class celestial soldiers. What was a first-class celestial soldier? That would require 1 million merit points. Normally, in the heavenly soldiers, one's cultivation would first break through to the God Emperor realm. Then, using the God Emperor realm's powerful fighting strength, they would hunt demons and accumulate merits before they could advance to the God Emperor realm. Therefore, the cultivation of a first-rate heavenly soldier was usually at the God Emperor realm. Of course, there were also some monstrous geniuses who had been promoted to first-class celestial soldiers when they were divine emperors. However, those people were all peerless geniuses and they were all high-level divine emperors. High-level godly emperors. Only those who had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer and above were considered high-level godly emperors. Lu Ming and the two others had the strength of the 5th godly emperor layer and they were going to become first-class celestial soldiers. Wasn't that a joke? No wonder people didn't believe it. Dandan frowned and said, I said I'm going to be promoted, so I'm going to be promoted. There's no rule in the Military Affairs Department that prevents others from being promoted to celestial soldier. Get out of my way. Dandan was originally in high spirits, but he was mocked as soon as he arrived. We are doing this for your own good. If you enter the Military Affairs Department and are found to have less than 1 million merit points, you will be punished. Not bad, if you know what's good for you, leave now. The two heavenly soldiers guarding the door mocked and ridiculed. Their expressions were somewhat ugly. Get out of my way! Shouted Dandan coldly. You really don't know what's good for you. The two guards groaned coldly and got out of the way. Lu Ming and the two others swaggered in. I don't believe they can become first-class celestial soldiers. Let's go and see, said the two guards, looking for a friend to help them. They followed Lu Ming and the others inside. Let's go and see. Around them, the others also followed one after another, looking like they were here to watch a good show. Even though Lu Ming and the two others looked confident, they still found it hard to believe that the three of them, who had the strength of the fifth godly emperor layer, could become first-class celestial soldiers at the same time. Even if there was one, it would be a miracle, let alone three. This was simply too inconceivable. But Lu Ming and the two others weren't idiots. They knew they would be punished, but they still wanted to be promoted. Did they want to be famous? Thus, many people were very curious. Lu Ming and the others led a large group of people to a counter. Several celestial officials were working at the counter. When they saw Lu Ming and the others leading a large group of celestial soldiers, they were rather curious. "What are you doing?" asked one of the white-haired celestial officials. "We want to become first-class celestial soldiers." Dandan was still the one who spoke. He even added a sentence towards the end. The celestial officials behind the counter were shocked. They had the same idea as the two guards. After all, Lu Ming and the others looked very young. The strongest of them was only at the fifth godly emperor layer, but they wanted to become first-class celestial soldiers. Even though they had worked for many years, they had never seen such a thing. "Of course, we're sure. This is my identity token. You can check it." Dandan impatiently took out her identity jade tablet and handed it to the white-haired heavenly official. She then swept a cold and arrogant glance at the two heavenly officials guarding the gate. He couldn't wait to slap the faces of these two heavenly officials. The white-haired celestial official took Dandan's identity token, then took out a formation plate and placed the token on it. The formation plate lit up, and a number appeared on it. It was Dandan's merit points. This, the surrounding people couldn't help but open their eyes wide. More than 1,000,000. Dandan really did have more than 1,000,000 merit points. More than 1,200,000 merit points, and most of them hadn't been spent. This was especially true for the two heavenly soldiers guarding the door. They almost lost their tongues, and their faces turned red. Hee, some people are really snobs. Dandan glanced triumphantly at the two heavenly soldiers guarding the door. "Humph, you meet the requirements to become a first-class celestial soldier, but what about them? You just said that the three of them would become first-class celestial soldiers." One of the heavenly soldiers was indignant and retorted. "Oh, if you want to see, open your dog eyes wide," said Dandan. Then, he looked at the white-haired celestial official and said, "Senior, what do you think? Do I meet the requirements to become a first-class celestial soldier? You have more than 1,000,000 merit points. Of course you meet the requirements. I'll help you with the procedures," said the white-haired celestial official. The procedures were actually very simple. They just had to modify Dandan's identity jade talisman and then make a note of it. After making the final note, they took out a set of golden armor and handed it to Dandan. It was a first-class celestial soldier armor. It could block an attack from an ordinary cultivator of the third great supreme god layer. Many third-class celestial soldiers and second-class celestial soldiers looked envious. Dandan took the celestial soldier battle armor and immediately put it on, feeling proud of herself. Chapter 41:11. Senior, this is my identity jade tablet. Then, Ling Yuwei stepped forward and handed her identity jade tablet to the white-haired sky official. The white-haired sky official took Ling Yuwei's identity jade tablet and placed it on the array disk. Immediately, another line of words appeared. More than 1.8 million merit points. Stunned, the surrounding people were stunned once again. Ling Yuwei's contribution points were actually more than Dandan's, reaching over 1.8 million. This had completely reached the standard of being promoted to a first-class heavenly soldier. Did you see that? Dandan glanced at the two heavenly soldiers' guards, his eyes filled with disdain and ridicule. The faces of the two heavenly soldiers' guards flushed red, but they did not refute. He was truly shocked. 2 people in a row had reached more than 1,000,000 merit points, and the last one, Lu Ming, was also very likely to reach more than 1,000,000 merit points. Wouldn't it be even more humiliating to speak at this time? That's right, you can be promoted to a first-class heavenly soldier. The white-haired sky official nodded, and then with the same level of note, he took out a set of first-class heavenly soldier armor and handed it to Ling Yuwei. After Ling Yuwei put it away, she returned to Lu Ming's side and said, "It's your turn." In unison, everyone's gazes turned towards Lu Ming. 2 people in a row had reached more than 1,000,000 merit points. They were very curious as to how many merit points Lu Ming had. Seeing how confident Lu Ming and the other 2 were, they guessed that Lu Ming might really have more than 1,000,000 merit points. They were just curious as to how many merit points he had. Lu Ming's expression was calm as he walked to the counter and took out his identity jade tablet. "Senior, here." Lu Ming handed the identity jade tablet to the white-haired sky official. The white-haired sky official nodded, took the identity jade tablet, and placed it on the array disk. The array disk immediately lit up, and everyone's gazes were fixed on the array disk as if they were mortal enemies. In the next moment, a line of words appeared. The white-haired sky official's pupils suddenly constricted. Even with his vast experience, he was still shocked. As for the others, there was no need to mention them. Hiss. Gasps could be heard from the crowd. Everyone's eyes were wide open as they stared at the row of numbers. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and disbelief. Over 9 million. Lu Ming's accumulated merit points had actually already exceeded 9 million. Lu Ming only had the strength of the 5th godly emperor layer, but he had over 9 million points. How had he done that? Heavens, what am I seeing? He has already accumulated over 9 million merit points, and the majority of them have yet to be used. Terrifying. What kind of mission did he complete? Or, how many devils did he kill? He needs less than 1,000,000 points to become a godly general, but he's only a cultivator of the 5th godly emperor layer. I've never heard of such a cultivator before. Gasps of surprise could be heard all around. The 2 heavenly soldiers guarding the door were completely petrified. Their mouths and eyes were wide open as they stood there in a daze. How is it? Did you see that? What a snob. Dandan glanced at the 2 heavenly soldiers guarding the door again and spoke in a triumphant voice. When Dandan saw that everybody was looking at him with astonishment, he felt even better than when he had broken through to the godly emperor layer. His self-esteem was greatly improved. Amazing. Amazing. You've accumulated so many merit points at such a young age. This is the first time I've seen someone like you. Come on, reach 10 million merit points as soon as possible and become a divine general. A divine general of divine emperor realm will become a legend," said the white-haired sky official sighing. "Thank you very much, senior," said Lu Ming cupping his fists. "Young man, you're neither arrogant nor impatient. Not bad. Come, I'll give you a note." The white-haired heavenly official was very satisfied with Lu Ming's attitude. He began to make a note for Lu Ming. After making the note, the white-haired heavenly official handed Lu Ming a set of first-class heavenly soldier armor. Lu Ming didn't immediately put it on. He put it in his ring. Then, under everyone's envious gazes, the 3 of them left the military affairs department. After leaving the military affairs department, they immediately headed for the merit exchange hall. Entering the merit exchange hall, just like last time, balls of light floated in the air. Ling Yuwei and Dandan immediately looked for balls of light that were suitable for them before disappearing into the balls of light. Lu Ming, remember to get me something to eat." Chiu Chiu's voice sounded in Lu Ming's ears. "Don't worry, you'll be the first to exchange. Lu Ming smiled and found the ball of light that was a waste divine weapon. Then, he entered it. Inside were all broken divine weapons. Every divine weapon was marked with a price that needed to be exchanged for. Lu Ming didn't look at those low-level broken divine weapons. Right now, he had a huge amount of merit points. If he wanted to exchange, he would give Xiao a top-grade broken divine weapon. Xiao could absorb and refine the divine weapon's functions and use them for himself. This heaven-defying function could not be wasted. Only by absorbing a top-grade divine weapon would he be able to unleash Xiao's functions. Lu Ming remembered that the last time he saw a broken black spear, it required 1,000,000 merit points to exchange for. A broken divine weapon required 1,000,000 merit points to exchange. If it was complete, it would definitely be a heaven-defying killing weapon. If such a broken divine weapon was absorbed by Xiao, it would definitely be a heaven-defying fortune. Lu Ming had always been thinking about it. Unfortunately, he didn't have that many merit points last time. This time, he definitely couldn't miss it. Lu Ming began to search in detail. At the same time, he told Xiao to sense it himself. After a while, found it. Xiao cried out excitedly as his round body flew in a certain direction. Lu Ming followed closely behind. Not long after, he saw half a spear floating in the air, enveloped by a light barrier. Floating above the light barrier was the number of merit points needed to exchange, 1000000. Xiao looked at the broken spear, his eyes emitting a scorching light as he circled around the broken spear, constantly spinning. I'll take this one. Lu Ming took out his identity jade tablet and placed it on the light barrier above the broken spear. Immediately, the light barrier emitted a burst of light. Then, the light barrier above dimmed until it finally disappeared completely. Half a broken divine spear was revealed. It's mine, it's mine, Xiao was very excited. He opened his big mouth and swallowed the broken spear in one gulp. Then, it turned back into a bracelet on Lu Ming's wrist. Lu Ming knew that Xiao would need some time to digest this broken spear. Lu Ming waved his hand and grabbed the identity jade tablet. He scanned it with his spiritual consciousness and found that the merit points inside had become 9080290/7956790. The number of merit points available had decreased by 1,000,000 compared to before. Lu Ming's heart ached a little. However, when he thought of the great increase in Xiao's battle strength and the special ability of the broken spear, he revealed a look of anticipation. Chapter 41:12. After selecting the food that Xiao needed, Lu Ming left the area. After a while, Lu Ming arrived at the area containing the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Which ancient secret technique should I choose? Lu Ming muttered to himself. There were more than 1,000 ancient secret techniques here. Lu Ming naturally wanted to announce his choice, but that was impossible. He didn't have enough merit points. The cheapest ancient secret technique required 100,000 merit points. The highest one was a terrifying 1,000,000 merit points. There were probably even higher ones. Lu Ming could only choose a few symbolically. He would slowly accumulate merit points in the future and slowly choose. There are already many kinds of offensive secret techniques. There are also some that can trap enemies. So, should I choose defensive and special ancient secret techniques? Lu Ming pondered and then started to watch. Great defensive technique, one of the 3 strongest defensive secret techniques. It is ranked in the top 100 among all ancient secret techniques. 1,000,000 merit points. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw a secret technique that moved his heart. Although he had the first-grade celestial soldier battle armor, it was still an external object. What if it was sealed by the forbidden weapon domain? At the crucial moment, he still had to rely on his own ability. Moreover, he couldn't stay in the heavenly palace forever. He would definitely leave the heavenly palace in the future. At that time, he wouldn't be able to use the celestial soldier battle armor. It was necessary to increase his defense. Although the price was unbearably expensive, he had no choice but to exchange for it. Lu Ming immediately used his identity jade card to exchange for the ancient mystic skill and memorized it in his heart. After exchanging for the great defensive technique, Lu Ming continued his search. What about the greater teleportation technique I saw last time? Lu Ming pondered. Lu Ming was also very interested in that greater teleportation technique. Its heaven-defying effect combined escaping and attacking. It was definitely Lu Ming's first choice. As expected, not long after, Lu Ming found the greater teleportation technique. The greater teleportation technique also required 1 million merit points. Lu Ming did not hesitate to exchange for it. As a result, Lu Ming was left with only 5956790 merit points. I still have more than 5 million merit points left. I'll stop exchanging for archaic secret techniques for now. Let's exchange for some ordinary secret techniques. Lu Ming pondered. The more ordinary secret techniques he cultivated, the more they would be integrated into his cells and fuse with his forbidden power. This would increase the power of his forbidden power and allow him to fight against those of a higher level. In addition, Lu Ming also wanted to exchange for a batch of treasures that contained a large amount of pure energy, such as the elven wood heart. As his cultivation base increased, the rate at which he consumed energy also became more and more terrifying. He wouldn't be able to use the elven wood hearts he obtained from the elven tribe for long. The elf clan still owed him 100,000 elven wood cores. He was thinking about when he should go to the elf clan and get those 100,000 elven wood cores. Lu Ming left the ancient secret technique area and began to exchange for ordinary secret techniques. Lu Ming was not picky about ordinary secret techniques. As long as it was a secret technique, he would exchange for it. In the heavenly palace, the price of exchanging for a secret technique was not cheap. It required 100 merit points. If it was exchanged for divine gems or other treasures, it would be many times more expensive than the market price outside. However, it was impossible to find so many secret techniques in the outside world. Which place had as many ordinary secret techniques as the heavenly palace? Therefore, even if it was expensive, Lu Ming still wanted to exchange for it. 100 merit points for one secret technique. 10,000 ordinary secret techniques would require 1 million merit points. In one breath, Lu Ming exchanged for 20,000 ordinary secret techniques that Lu Ming did not have. There were a total of 20,000 secret skills. Lu Ming had accumulated a total of 1,300 ordinary secret skills previously. If he could successfully cultivate all 20,000 secret techniques and convert them into merit points that would fuse into his cells, how much more powerful would his taboo power be? It would definitely not be a dream to be able to fight across 6 levels or even more. Of course, it would not be easy to cultivate all 20,000 secret techniques and convert them into secret technique runes and merge them into his cells. It would be a huge project. In this way, the number of merit points available to Lu Ming decreased by 2 million, leaving him with only 3956790. Following that, Lu Ming went to exchange for a large number of divine pills. They were all divine pills that contained a huge amount of pure energy. He spent another 1 million merit points. This kind of divine pill was also shockingly expensive. Then, Lu Ming only had 2956790 merit points available to him. Should I exchange for a few forbidden weapon domain runes? Lu Ming thought of the forbidden weapon domain runes. The memory of Dark Star using them to assassinate him was still fresh in his mind. However, Lu Ming quickly shook his head and dispelled this idea. There was a disadvantage to using the forbidden weapon domain runes. He would be enveloped by it and would not be able to use his ultimate weapon. Lu Ming controlled several ultimate weapons, including the mysterious ice rod. If he could not use it, wouldn't it be even more of a loss? The forbidden weapon domain runes were usually used by people with higher cultivation to deal with people with lower cultivation who were peerless geniuses and had mastered ultimate weapons. This would greatly reduce the strength of those geniuses. However, Lu Ming had no use for it. Why would Lu Ming need it to deal with geniuses with lower cultivation who had mastered ultimate weapons? Who else could be more monstrous and more talented than him? It could be said that the forbidden weapon domain runes were used by others to deal with him. He had no use for them at all. As for the remaining merit points, Lu Ming planned to leave them for cultivation in the Blessings Tower. After all, the amount of merit points required to cultivate in the Blessings Tower was also very shocking. According to Lu Ming's knowledge, cultivating on the first level of the Blessings Tower for a day required 20 merit points. Cultivating on the second level of the Blessings Tower for a day required 100 merit points. Cultivating on the third level of the Blessings Tower for a day required 500 merit points. Lu Ming was now a first-grade heavenly soldier and could enter the third level of the Blessings Tower to cultivate. Although he still had close to 3 million merit points, he could only cultivate there for about 16 years. Of course, the third level's effects would definitely be much better than the second level. Otherwise, it would not require so many merit points. Now that Lu Ming had obtained so many secret techniques, he would definitely enter the Blessings Tower to cultivate. Otherwise, when would he be able to cultivate? After exchanging almost everything, Lu Ming left the place and found that Dandan and Ling Yue had also finished exchanging. Both of them had satisfied expressions on their faces. It seemed that they had gained a lot. Let's go to the Blessings Tower to cultivate for a while. Dandan immediately said when he saw Lu Ming. Immediately, the three of them left and arrived at the bottom of the Blessings Tower. Which level are you going to cultivate on? Lu Ming asked. I don't have many merit points left. I can only go to the second level to cultivate. Dandan sighed. Me too. Ling Yue also nodded. They had exchanged for a large number of treasures. If they entered the third level with their remaining merit points, they would not be able to cultivate for long. Chapter 41:13. In the end, Dandan and Ling Yue entered the second floor to cultivate, while Lu Ming entered the third floor. After entering the third floor, Lu Ming discovered that it was almost the same as the second floor. It was also a stone bridge that led into the distance. The surroundings were void, affecting one's vision and making it impossible to see the situation in the distance. Lu Ming walked along the stone bridge. Not long after, he saw a flight of stairs that led down into the distance. I wonder what kind of fortune is on the third floor. Could it be the same as the second floor? Lu Ming muttered in his heart as he walked down the stairs and arrived at a flat place. As soon as he arrived at this flat place, Lu Ming immediately felt a strong primordial divine spirit's aura. It's really the same as the second floor. It's just that the primordial divine spirit's aura seems to be even stronger, several times stronger than the second floor. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as thoughts ran through his mind. Could it be that on the third floor, there was also a primordial divine spirit that was even stronger than the second floor? Lu Ming was very curious and planned to take a look. He stepped forward and walked forward. The further he went, the stronger the primordial divine spirit's aura became, and the pressure on Lu Ming also became stronger and stronger. Not long after, he saw many heavenly soldiers cultivating here. Those who could cultivate here were naturally first-rate heavenly soldiers, and most of them were divine emperor realm existences. These people looked at Lu Ming curiously. Obviously, Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 5th divine emperor layer, but he had become a first-rate heavenly soldier, which made them curious. Lu Ming ignored everyone's gazes and continued to walk forward. However, the pressure was getting stronger and stronger, and the primordial divine spirit's aura was getting stronger and stronger. Even if Lu Ming used his forbidden power, in the end, he could not resist it and could not continue forward. Lu Ming was almost certain that there was an even stronger primordial divine spirit here, and it was a living primordial divine spirit. Otherwise, its aura would not be so strong. On the second floor, Lu Ming could still see the true face of the primordial divine spirit. Here, Lu Ming could not even see the true face of the primordial divine spirit. In the end, Lu Ming had no choice but to go back. If I cultivate original godly qi or original secret techniques here, the results would be astonishing. It's much better than the second floor. Unfortunately, it's useless for me. Lu Ming shook his head and retraced his steps. He returned to the stone bridge and continued his journey. After a short time, the second flight of stairs appeared. Lu Ming walked down the stairs and saw a small lake. It was filled with bright red liquid. Like the second level, it was the fresh blood of the primitive god. If I cultivate here, my cultivation will probably rise very quickly. In half a year, I should be able to make a breakthrough. Thought, the primordial divine spirit. Breakthrough break of the second level break, the divine emperor layer, the primordial divine emperor, of the first of the heavens. Had the break had to break to the fourth of break to the fourth break of the third. Now, Lu Ming's cultivation level had reached the fifth level of the divine emperor realm. If he wanted to break through, he would have to break through to the sixth level of the divine emperor realm. Even though the effects of the third floor were better, the higher one's cultivation level was, the more difficult it would be to break through. Therefore, on the third floor, it would take half a year to break through to the sixth godly emperor layer. The higher the level, the longer it would take to break through. I'm not in a hurry to break through to the next level. Let's go and see if the primordial divine sound is there. If it is, I'll cultivate a secret technique first. Lu Ming made a decision. He then left this place and continued to move forward. As expected, everything was the same as on the second floor. Very quickly, Lu Ming reached the end of the bridge and found the primordial divine sound. There was also the primordial divine sound here, but it was much stronger than on the second floor. Not bad, not bad. I'll cultivate here. Lu Ming found a place and sat cross-legged. He closed his eyes and the cultivation method of the transference skill appeared in his mind. The greater teleportation technique was one of the top 100 secret techniques of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. It was extremely powerful, but it was also very difficult to learn. It was even more difficult than the Great Godly Wind technique, Great Destruction technique, Great Demon Sword technique, and Great Binding technique. If it was outside, under normal circumstances, it would be extremely difficult to successfully comprehend it. However, with the help of the primordial divine sound, it was easy to learn. In just 7 days, Lu Ming had mastered the beginner level of the art of great transference. He transformed it into a secret skill rune and integrated it into a cell. Of course, it was not enough to reach the entry level. Lu Ming wanted to reach the phenomenal success stage. Lu Ming continued to comprehend. In 1 month, he had learned the lesser teleportation technique. In half a year, he had learned the greater teleportation technique. In half a year, he had learned the greater teleportation technique. In the outside world, it was unimaginable. However, in half a year, he had learned the greater teleportation technique. It had to be said that the primordial divine sound was extremely effective. After learning the greater teleportation technique to the greater teleportation technique, Lu Ming immediately started learning the greater defensive technique. The price of the greater defensive technique was about the same as the greater teleportation technique. However, it was much more difficult to learn. Lu Ming used a full 8 months to reach the greater teleportation technique. After learning the 2 powerful ancient secret techniques to the greater teleportation technique, Lu Ming's strength had undoubtedly increased. Even if his attack power didn't increase by much, his ability to escape had definitely increased by a large margin. Next, Lu Ming began to learn the ordinary secret techniques. It was very easy for the current Lu Ming to cultivate an ordinary secret skill to the entry level and transform it into a secret skill rune to integrate into his cells. Moreover, he had the support of the primordial divine sound. Lu Ming could learn dozens of secret techniques to the lesser teleportation technique in a day. However, to reach the greater teleportation technique, Lu Ming could only learn one technique a day. One technique a day. This speed was already very fast. One had to know that this was to reach the greater teleportation technique. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 years had passed. In 10 years, Lu Ming had cultivated a total of 3,700 secret techniques to the greater teleportation technique. In addition to the previous 1,300, Lu Ming had cultivated a total of 5,000 ordinary secret techniques to the greater teleportation technique. Now, Lu Ming only needed to circulate the taboo energy. All the cells in his body would tremble and all the secret techniques would fuse with the taboo energy to erupt with terrifying power. Now, Lu Ming's ability to fight those above his level had definitely increased. Lu Ming estimated that he could at least fight those above his level. This was at least. In fact, it should be more than that. It was getting harder and harder to fight those above his level. For example, the difficulty of fighting those above his level from 4 to 5 levels was definitely much lower than that of fighting those above his level from 5 to 6 levels. More than 11 years have passed, and I've only cultivated a little over 3,700 secret techniques. There are still so many secret techniques left. I can only slowly cultivate them in the future. At least I have them in my hands. Whenever I have time, I can cultivate them. Now, I should go and improve my cultivation. Lu Ming planned in his heart. He didn't have many merit points left. It could only support him to cultivate in the 3rd level for less than 5 years. Chapter 41:14. Lu Ming's remaining merit points could only support him to cultivate on the 3rd level for less than 5 years. He planned to use the last of his merit points to increase his cultivation level. He stood up and left. He went back to the second one, the one filled with the original godly spirit's blood. He jumped into the lake and started cultivating. Immediately, Lu Ming sensed a terrifying pressure. It felt like his body was going to be torn apart, but at the same time, an incomparably pure energy kept penetrating into his body from the original godly spirit's blood. It was flowing into every cell of his body. Lu Ming's forbidden strength was increasing rapidly. Even though it wasn't as fast as a battle to the death where it could stimulate the potential of one's cells, it was still increasing. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. Just as Lu Ming had predicted, in half a year, Lu Ming had indeed broken through from the 5th level of the Divine Emperor realm to the 6th level. His strength had increased explosively. After breaking through, Lu Ming didn't leave. He continued cultivating. He wanted to break through to the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Breaking through from the 6th to the 7th Godly Emperor layer was even more difficult. He had to break through from the middle Godly Emperor layer to the top Godly Emperor layer. Even here, it was impossible to break through in half a year. Lu Ming cultivated for 3.5 years and finally broke through from the 6th Godly Emperor layer to the 7th. At that time, Lu Ming had about 150,000 merit points left. If he wanted to break through from the 7th Godly Emperor layer to the 8th Godly Emperor layer, he would need even more time. Lu Ming guessed that he would need at least 15 years. Therefore, Lu Ming stopped cultivating and left the fortune tower. He went back to his residence. When he went back to his residence, he saw that Dandan and the others had already come back. They were cultivating in their own rooms. They were digesting the treasures they had obtained from the Merit Exchange Hall. Lu Ming also went back to his room. When he went back to his room, Lu Ming's eyes lit up because he sensed a powerful qi coming out of his room. It was Qiu Qiu's qi. Before going to the fortune tower, Lu Ming had told Qiu Qiu to come back alone. Because Qiu Qiu couldn't enter the fortune tower unless he had merit points to spend. Obviously, Qiu Qiu didn't have any. Therefore, Qiu Qiu went back to Lu Ming's room to refine the black spear. After 10 years, Qiu had refined the spear. Qiu's evolution. Lu Ming knew that Qiu had already reached the limits of the God Emperor realm. One more step and he would become a God Emperor. From the Godly Emperor layer to the Great Supreme God layer, there was no such thing as a half-Great Supreme God layer. The next step was the Great Supreme God layer. But breaking through from the top of the 9th Godly Emperor layer to the Great Supreme God layer wasn't easy. One had to turn their stars into a black hole, which was extremely difficult. Lu Ming stood with his hands behind his back and waited quietly. Qiu's aura finally stabilized after a few days. Whoosh! Qiu shrank in size and flew to Lu Ming's side. You refined that half of the black spear? Lu Ming asked. Not yet, I've only refined a portion of it. That half of the spear is no small matter. However, I've obtained an extremely powerful ability. Qiu said excitedly. It's an ability. Let's go and try it out. Lu Ming looked interested. He took Qiu out of the room and went to a gigantic secret room. That kind of secret room was built in the celestial army of the Milky Way for people to learn from each other. There were rules in the celestial army of the celestial army. They couldn't fight against each other. That was why there were such secret rooms, surrounded by deployment spells. They could learn from each other and improve together. They couldn't fight. In the secret room, Lu Ming and Qiu were facing each other. Lu Ming, you only have the strength of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Do you want me to use my full strength? Asked Qiu. Use your full strength. Don't worry, you can't hurt me, said Lu Ming confidently. He could now fight against cultivators who were 6 cultivation layers higher than him. Even though his cultivation level was 2 cultivation layers lower than Qiu's, he was still confident. You're really confident. Take my attack. Qiu yelled. Its round body transformed rapidly, turning into a silver spear. It broke through the air and pierced toward Lu Ming. He's still holding back. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth rose. Qiu had refined the black spear. If he used the black spear's ability, he should have turned into a black spear. But now, he had turned into a silver spear. He hadn't used his full strength yet. Whoosh! The silver spear was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of Lu Ming. Clang! Lu Ming's palm was like a knife, slashing the tip of the silver spear. Instantly, the silver spear vibrated violently and then flew backward. It retreated a long distance and hit the wall of the secret chamber, causing the wall to roar violently. Numerous talismans appeared on the wall. His attack power has increased. Lu Ming nodded, judging in his heart. In the past, when Qiu turned into a silver spear, he could fight against cultivators who were 2 cultivation layers higher than him. But now, Lu Ming estimated that he could fight against cultivators who were 2.5 cultivation layers higher than before. However, this wasn't Qiu's strongest form. Qiu, use your full strength. You're no match for me. Show me what you've got. Don't hold back. Lu Ming said. How dare you? I was afraid of hurting you. But now, I won't hold back. Qiu roared as his body underwent another drastic change. He turned into a black spear, a complete black spear. At the same time, a terrifying aura emanated from the black spear. It was filled with an ancient and desolate feeling. It gave Lu Ming the feeling that he was facing a primordial deity. Primordial deity? Lu Ming was a little surprised. Could that black spear have something to do with the primordial deity? Lu Ming, be careful. I'm going to use my strongest attack. Qiuqiu's voice sounded. Then, the black spear pierced through the void and pierced toward Lu Ming. In the process of piercing, the black spear emitted rays of light. These rays of light condensed into the figure of a huge primordial deity. This primordial deity also held a black spear in his hand and pierced toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's pupils shrank slightly. Chapter 41:15. Interesting. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation. At the same time, he activated the battle's secret art to increase his combat power by 6 times. All sorts of secret techniques were activated in his body at the same time. His entire body was shrouded in a dazzling glow. This was because Qiuqiu's move made him feel pressured. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch. Heaven and earth shook violently as it collided with the black spear. An earth-shattering boom rang out, and a violent airflow swept out in all directions, crashing into the surrounding walls, but was blocked by the walls. Wang! The black spear in the primitive godly spirit's hand shook violently and then shattered. The terrifying fist energy continued to hit the primitive godly spirit and directly pierced through his chest. The primordial divine spirit dissipated and disappeared without a trace. The black spear that Qiuqiu had transformed into retreated rapidly and hit the secret room's wall again. Stop fighting, you pervert, Qiuqiu shouted and turned back into a ball. He looked at Lu Ming in shock. You're quite powerful too. Lu Ming said. There was a look of joy on his face. Through the move just now, Lu Ming judged that Qiuqiu could fight across 4 levels or even more. It might even exceed that by a little. At the same level, it was even stronger than ordinary universe prodigy list candidates. Its ability to fight across levels should be close to Ling Yu's. Previously, Qiuqiu could only fight across 2 levels. Now, it could fight across more than 4 levels. It had only refined half of the spear. This was too shocking. Qiuqiu's potential is simply endless. What talent is this? I've never heard of it, Lu Ming sighed in his heart. Qiuqiu's talent was too shocking. It was simply heaven-defying. It felt even more impressive than his taboo power. As long as there were high-level godly weapons for him to devour, he could continue to evolve and improve. His talent would also become more and more terrifying. Lu Ming also secretly checked a lot of information, but he couldn't find any similar records. However, after this battle, Lu Ming could roughly judge his combat power. He could fight across at least 6.5 levels. This was a huge improvement. If other people knew about it, they would be scared to death. Taboo power is indeed heaven-defying. Lu Ming exclaimed. He was a little proud. However, when he thought of a problem, his proud mood immediately disappeared. He thought of Fei Huang. She was also a taboo. Xian Yanqing's father in his previous life was also a taboo. However, these taboo powers didn't seem to have the upper hand against the heavenly palace. Instead, they seemed to be at a disadvantage. Lu Ming did not think that he was stronger than the other taboos. This meant that the Sky Palace was truly terrifying. Its strength was far beyond what Lu Ming could fathom at the moment. Lu Ming still had a long way to go. Let's go. Let's go. It was a first-grade celestial soldier armor. The second-grade celestial soldier armor had a forbidden power that could seep into their cells and control them. He didn't know if the first-grade celestial soldier armor had such a thing. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming began to put it on. As expected, as soon as he put on the first-grade celestial soldier armor, there was an even stronger power that seeped into his cells and hid. However, Lu Ming's taboo power was scattered in every cell. He could clearly capture this power. As long as Lu Ming wanted to, he could erase this power at any time. I'll use it for now. The first-grade celestial soldier armor can block the full power attack of a third-layer divine god expert. It'll be very useful at a critical moment. Lu Ming muttered. At this moment, his eyes flashed because he felt that there was someone outside the door. It wasn't Dandan or Ling Yue, but someone else. Lu Ming got up and opened the door. He saw an elegant middle-aged man in a white robe. He was obviously a celestial official. To be able to become a celestial official, almost all of them had the cultivation of the Divine Lord realm. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. He cupped his fists and said, "First-grade celestial soldier Mu Yun greets Lord Sky Official. May I know why Lord Sky Official has come to my humble place? I'm looking for you because I have something to do. I have a mission for you. Follow me." The scholarly Sky Official said. "A mission? Just me?" Lu Ming said as he looked towards Dandan and Ling Yue's room. "Naturally, you're not the only one, but you're the only one in this area. Follow me." With that, the scholarly Sky Official turned around and walked away. Lu Ming was puzzled, but he could only follow and ask, "May I ask, Lord Sky Official, what is my mission this time? I don't know the details either. I only know that it was Lord Heaven's order, and you were also personally named by Lord Heaven." The scholarly Sky Official said. After he finished speaking, he curiously glanced at Lu Ming, as if he wanted to see clearly what was so special about Lu Ming that was worthy of being personally named by the Lord Heaven. The Lord Heaven personally named me? Lu Ming was slightly startled, and couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive. Could it be that the Lord Heaven had discovered something? Or could it be that the Lord Heaven saw that his performance was outstanding and his talent was powerful, so he had a new mission for him? I can't guess. Lu Ming carried a mind full of doubts as he followed the scholarly Sky Official to a great hall. When he arrived at the great hall, he discovered that there were already some people there. They are all top-notch monsters. Lu Ming glanced around and was astonished. Because all the people in the great hall were young, and their cultivation levels were very high. Lu Ming carefully sensed that they were all at least of the 7th godly emperor layer. Only a few of them had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer. Most of them had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. On top of that, they were all wearing golden armor. First-class celestial soldier armor. Those people were only godly emperors, but they were all first-class celestial soldiers. One could imagine how strong they were. Lu Ming was wearing a golden first-class celestial soldier armor, so he didn't attract any attention. Some people just glanced at him and didn't pay him any attention. Lu Ming stood on the side and observed. Including him, there were 35 people in the Great Hall. Most of them were from the top 10 clans, and a small number of them were from the top clans. Those people looked puzzled. Like Lu Ming, they didn't know what mission they were going to accept. Lu Ming waited calmly. One after another, a few more people arrived. They were all young people, and their cultivation levels were very high. However, none of them were divine emperors. They were all godly emperors. In the end, there were 39 people gathered there. At that moment, a few people came in through the great door. Heavenly Human Clan. Lu Ming was surprised. The 3 people who came in later were all from the Heavenly Human Clan. They had golden hair and a unique chi. They were very easy to recognize. Chapter 41:16. The 3 heavenly humans who came in were all middle-aged. They were casually dressed in long robes, but they gave off an unfathomable feeling. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Even if the 3 of them were not divine masters, they were still top-notch emperor gods. They were definitely unimaginably powerful. The scene quieted down. They knew that they would soon know what mission they were going to carry out. The three heavenly humans scanned the scene. The middle-aged square-faced heavenly human spoke first. "All right, everyone is here. Now, I'll tell you about the next mission." Everyone stared at him with bright eyes, waiting for his next message. "The next mission can be considered an opportunity for you." The square-faced heavenly human continued, "Has anyone heard of the Grand Ancient Divine Court?" Grand Ancient Divine Court? Lu Ming looked puzzled. He had never heard of this name before. But just by hearing the name, it gave off an extraordinary feeling. Grand Ancient Divine Court? Is it the Grand Ancient Divine Court that is as famous as the Life Spirit Heavenly Court and is against the Heavenly Palace? Someone exclaimed. Lu Ming had never heard of it, but that didn't mean that others had never heard of it. The top 10 clans had a long history. After a long time, they knew many secrets that ordinary people couldn't come into contact with. The one who spoke just now was a young man from the top 10 clans. Everyone present had different expressions on their faces. Some were shocked, some were puzzled. Those who were shocked had obviously heard of it before. Those who were puzzled, like Lu Ming, had never heard of it before. It's as famous as the Life Spirit Heavenly Court? This news made Lu Ming's heart tremble violently. In its heyday, the Life Spirit Heavenly Court was said to be an existence that could challenge the Heavenly Palace. It was extremely powerful. Although it was later destroyed by the Heavenly Palace, the legacy it left behind still made countless people crazy. Since the Grand Ancient Divine Court was as famous as the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, it was obviously an existence that could challenge the Heavenly Palace. Could their mission this time be related to the Grand Ancient Divine Court? That's right. It's the Grand Ancient Divine Court. The square-faced celestial being nodded and said, "Back then, the archaic Divine Court was rebellious. They did not respect the Heavenly Palace and even tried to overthrow the Heavenly Palace. In the end, they were destroyed by the Heavenly Palace. However, although the archaic Divine Court was destroyed, one of its core worlds was preserved and controlled by the Heavenly Palace. However, this inner world was created with the blood and sweat of countless experts from the Archean Divine Court. It's surrounded by the 3,000 secret magics of the Archean era and countless other secret magics. Combined with a spell formation, it's impossible to break through. The powerful beings in the Heavenly Palace will only destroy this world if they attack it forcefully. If they want to enter, they can only slowly break through the formation outside. By the way, some of you might not have heard of the Grand Ancient Divine Court, but you should know one thing. You should have heard of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques, right? They came from the Grand Ancient Divine Court. What? The square-faced heavenly human's words made Lu Ming's heart tremble violently again. The 3,000 ancient secret arts actually came from the ancient Divine Court? This was shocking news. Lu Ming was not the only one. Many people were shocked as well. The Grand Ancient Divine Court relied on the 3,000 ancient secret techniques to dominate the world. At the same time, the Grand Ancient Divine Court also created countless ordinary secret techniques. It can be said that the Grand Ancient Divine Court is the origin of secret techniques. In the core worlds left behind by the Grand Ancient Divine Court, a large number of ancient secret techniques and many ordinary secret techniques were preserved. Now, more than 1,000 ancient secret techniques stored in the Heavenly Palace's Merit Exchange Hall were obtained from this core world. However, that was 500 stellar years ago. The square-faced celestial being continued to explain. 500 stellar years ago? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. How long had this been? Even a divine emperor wouldn't be able to live that long. Since taking control of the core worlds left behind by the Grand Ancient Divine Court, the people of the Heavenly Palace have only entered once. That was 500 stellar years ago. At that time, there was a flaw in the array formation around the core worlds left behind by the Grand Ancient Divine Court. That was why the big shots of the Heavenly Palace found a gap and sent a group of people in. From there, they obtained a large number of ancient secret techniques and ordinary secret techniques. Of course, there were also other treasures. However, there are still many of the 3,000 great ancient secret techniques left in there that have yet to be extracted. However, ever since that time, the spirit formations surrounding that world have never revealed any flaws. Until recently. At this point, many people's hearts raced. They already had a rough idea of what their next task was. Recently, the array formation around the core worlds of the Grand Ancient Divine Court has had a flaw again. The big shots of the Heavenly Palace have taken action again. I believe that they will soon open a passage and send a group of people in. However, based on the previous experience, I feel that the ancient secret techniques in the core worlds left behind by the Grand Ancient Divine Court have already developed intelligence. The square-faced heavenly human continued to explain, but Lu Ming and the others were dumbfounded. What did they just hear? The ancient secret techniques had developed intelligence? Secret techniques could also develop intelligence? This was unheard of. You didn't hear wrong. 500 stellar years ago, the people of the Heavenly Palace went in and got the news that the ancient secret techniques had developed intelligence and could clearly sense people from other worlds. After the people of the Heavenly Palace went in, as long as their cultivation was too strong, the ancient secret techniques would sense them and hide. It's very difficult to find them. Otherwise, we wouldn't have only obtained a few hundred ancient secret techniques last time. The square-faced heavenly human explained. Although there were thousands of ancient secret techniques in the Merit Exchange Hall, not all of them were obtained from the core worlds. In the past, the 3,000 ancient secret techniques were very widespread and some were obtained through other channels. According to the previous experience, those ancient secret techniques would easily sense people above the Divine Emperor realm and hide. Once they hide, it's very difficult to find them. As for those below the Divine Emperor realm, those ancient secret techniques are not so scary and won't hide. That's why I asked you to come this time. Your cultivation is at the Divine Emperor realm, but your combat strength is very strong. You have a much higher chance of obtaining the ancient secret techniques. This time, as long as you obtain an ancient secret technique or an ordinary secret technique, you can keep it for yourself. You just need to make a copy and send it to the Heavenly Palace. At the same time, the Heavenly Palace will give you merit points as a reward. According to the preciousness of the secret technique, the merit points will be higher and lower. Of course, you need secret techniques that the Heavenly Palace doesn't have. Since the Heavenly Palace already has them, there won't be any reward. The square-faced heavenly human continued. Many people's eyes lit up. Especially Lu Ming. What did he want the most? Secret techniques. No matter if it was an ancient secret technique or an ordinary secret technique, he wanted them all. Now, not only could he obtain a secret technique and make a copy of it to the Heavenly Palace, but he would also be rewarded with merit points. This was the best of both worlds for Lu Ming. Chapter 41:17. Then, the square-faced heavenly human said that if they copied the secret techniques to the Heavenly Palace, they would be rewarded the same as what they got from the Merit Exchange Hall. In other words, if they got an ancient secret technique that didn't exist in the Heavenly Palace and copied it to the Heavenly Palace, they would be rewarded with at least 100,000 merit points. That was because the cheapest ancient secret technique was 100,000 merit points, and some of the more expensive ones were as high as 1,000,000 merit points. The 39 young first-rate heavenly soldiers all revealed burning gazes. If they could get dozens of ancient secret techniques that didn't exist in the Heavenly Palace, wouldn't they be rich? This was indeed a great opportunity. But don't let your guard down. According to our previous experience, there are many creatures in the core world left by the ancient divine court. These creatures were originally creatures of the primitive universe, but they all joined the ancient divine court. Although the experts of the ancient divine court were almost all killed in the war with the heavenly palace, the creatures left behind hate the creatures outside very much. That's right, the ancient divine court. Moreover, those creatures have lived in that world for a long time, and their aura is different from the outside world. If people from the outside world enter, the creatures inside can easily sense it and attack you. The square-faced heavenly human explained. Everyone's heart sank. Sir, do you know what the cultivation level of the strongest being in that world is? Someone asked. I'm not sure, but there must be a divine emperor. As for the divine lord realm, it should be impossible. It's not the primitive universe, just a remnant world. It can't give birth to a divine lord. At least, those who entered 500 stellar years ago didn't find the existence of a divine lord. The square-faced heavenly human explained. Well, I've explained enough. I have detailed information here. Take a look and you'll know more. As the square-faced man finished speaking, the space between his eyebrows began to shine and the dreamy divine jade appeared. Then, a massive screen of light appeared in the air. On this screen of light, there were lines of words describing the information left behind by the ancient divine court about the inner world. There wasn't much information. After all, people from the heavenly palace had only entered once, and that was 500 stellar years ago. It was too long ago. Soon, Lu Ming and the others memorized all the information. Oh, there's one more thing to tell you. You're not the only ones entering this time. Some of the core disciples of the heavenly palace will also enter. Some of them are from the heavenly human tribe, and some are disciples of the big shots. The square-faced heavenly human tribe. What? Everyone at the scene was greatly shocked, and their expressions turned solemn. They were the top geniuses of the divine emperor realm in the primitive universe. Regardless of talent or battle strength, they were all top-notch in the divine emperor realm. However, when facing the heavenly human tribe prodigies or the disciples secretly taken in by those big shots, they were not confident at all. It was clear that the main force entering this time was most likely the prodigies of the celestial tribe and the core disciples of those important figures of the heavenly palace. They were most likely there to make up the numbers. It was better than nothing. Some people's excited moods calmed down. However, Lu Ming was looking forward to it. His heart was burning with anticipation. A core disciple of a big shot in the heavenly palace? Didn't someone from the heavenly palace take Autumn Moon as a disciple? Would she go with them this time? If the heavenly soldiers wanted to get in touch with the core disciples of the heavenly palace, they would have to be promoted to divine generals. Otherwise, ordinary people wouldn't be qualified. But now, the opportunity had come. If he could see Qiu Yu and know that she was doing well, then Lu Ming could rest assured. If he wanted to leave the heavenly palace, he could do so at any time. Well, I've said what I wanted to say and seen what I wanted to see. Now, come with me. The square-faced heavenly human tribe member said. Then, he walked into the hall with the other two heavenly humans. The interior of the hall was originally a wall, but when they approached it, the wall rippled like water and disappeared, revealing a large door. They stepped out and went through the door. Lu Ming and the rest hurried to catch up with him and stepped through the door. When they stepped through the door, they were deeply shocked by the scene in front of them. This was a vast and boundless void. In the vast and boundless void, there was a shocking scene. Those were runes. Some of the runes were the most eye-catching. Each of these runes was incomparably large as a planet. Given Lu Ming's eyesight, he could tell at one glance that there were a total of 3,000 runes that were as huge as planets. The 3,000 planet-sized runes emitted different colors, and each rune emitted a different aura. These 3,000 runes. Are they related to the 3,000 ancient secret skills? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Because he sensed a familiar aura from some of the runes. It was the aura of the 3,000 ancient secret skills that he had cultivated. In addition, among the 3,000 huge runes, there were countless small runes. These small runes were much smaller, but there were many times more of them. Given Lu Ming's eyesight, he felt dazzled at one glance. He could not see clearly how many runes there were. These large and small runes were intertwined and connected to each other, forming a huge ball that kept spinning in the air. Furthermore, those runes and symbols were not motionless. Instead, they were flowing non-stop and changing non-stop. At every moment, countless transformations were occurring. At that moment, there were several figures surrounding the enormous sphere. They were attacking it non-stop. Rays of multicolored light entered the sphere one after another. What a strong aura! Lu Ming's pupils shrank. Those figures were extremely terrifying and unfathomable. They were many times stronger than the 3 heavenly humans who brought them here. Lu Ming was certain that those few figures were definitely almighty existences. They were not even ordinary almighty existences. Inside this ball is the core world left behind by the grand ancient divine court. The runes you see are all formed by the secret skills and the formation. The 3,000 largest runes were refined with the 3,000 ancient secret skills as the core. As for the smaller runes, they were refined with some ordinary secret skills as the core. Countless runes interweave with each other and are ever-changing. It's very difficult to break through. However, recently, the formation has been loosened. Several big shots are trying to break it. You just have to wait. The square-faced Lord of Heaven said. As expected, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Those runes were indeed related to the secret skills. He had guessed correctly. The core disciples of the Heavenly Palace. At this moment, someone whispered. Chapter 41:18. A core disciple of the Heavenly Palace, someone exclaimed. Lu Ming and the others couldn't help but look in one direction. Not far away, there were some figures floating in the void. There were a lot more of them, about 50 of them. Among them, the most eye-catching were a dozen young men and women. These young men all had blonde hair. The men were handsome, and the women were beautiful. The most special thing was their temperament. Every one of them had a noble temperament. This temperament was not deliberately displayed, as if it was innate. It was a kind of unique temperament that was high and mighty, looking down on all living things. To be honest, this temperament made Lu Ming feel uncomfortable at first glance. Obviously, these young men and women were all from the heavenly human tribe. The rest of the people came from various tribes, and they were all top-notch geniuses. Lu Ming glanced around and was slightly disappointed when he didn't see Autumn Moon. Finally, his gaze fell on 4 hazy figures. The 4 figures were shrouded in a layer of hazy light. That layer of light was dreamy and illusory. After looking at it for a while, he felt as if he had fallen into a dream. Lu Ming quickly shook his head to wake himself up. What a powerful force! Lu Ming was a little shocked. With his cultivation and eyesight, he couldn't see through that layer of mysterious power. He even almost fell into it. However, Lu Ming could still tell that the 4 figures had slim figures and they were all young ladies. The other young geniuses' gazes were also mostly attracted by the 4 figures. The power of Damang. They are all disciples of the Lord of Heaven from Damang. Someone exclaimed in a low voice with shock. The Lord of Heaven from Damang. You mean the most powerful Lord of Heaven who is ranked at the top of the Lord of Heaven? Another young man exclaimed. The ones who spoke were basically all skyprides from the top 10 races. This was because they were more knowledgeable. That's right. It's that Lord of Heaven. Even among the 5 heavenly palaces Lord of Heaven, she's ranked at the top. She's extremely terrifying. No one knows how strong she is. We only know that she once made all the living beings in an entire galaxy fall into a dreamland in an instant. Another young man said. The others sucked in a cold breath. In an instant, all the living beings in an entire galaxy had fallen into a dream. What kind of power was this? How many living beings were there in a galaxy? That was completely incalculable. But in an instant, all living creatures fell into a dreamland. Just how powerful was that? It was simply inconceivable. Even Lu Ming secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. When he had obtained the Gale Pearl, he had seen the owner of the Gale Pearl destroy a galaxy with a gale. However, destroying a galaxy was definitely easier than making all the living beings in an entire galaxy fall into a dreamland in an instant. In fact, it was much easier. Obviously, the Lord of Heaven from Damning Dream was much stronger than the owner of the Gale Pearl. It's said that the Lord of Heaven from Damning Dream doesn't accept disciples easily. Even if she does, she only accepts female disciples. I didn't expect that the Lord of Heaven from Damning Dream would have 4 young disciples at once. This is extremely rare. I've also heard that the Lord of Heaven from Damning Dream is a peerless beauty in the world. And her disciples are also the same. I really want to see the real faces of these 3 people. Some people talked secretly, but they didn't dare to speak too loudly. Is the mid-autumn moon in there? Lu Ming kept thinking and looking carefully in his mind, trying to figure out something from it. However, the layer of Damning Dream's power was very mysterious. He couldn't see through it at all. This made Lu Ming a little anxious. He was now in his current body, a forbidden body. His life origin aura had changed. Even if he stood in front of the autumn moon wouldn't be able to recognize him. If he wanted to confirm the existence of the mid-autumn moon, he had to take the initiative. However, now wasn't the time. There were big shots from the heavenly palace here. He didn't dare to act rashly. Otherwise, it would be very troublesome. Now, he could only bide his time and wait until he entered the core world left behind by the archaic divine court. Soon, 3 days had passed. At this time, the figures who were breaking the formation shouted at the same time. A terrifying aura spread out. Several big shots from the heavenly palace made their moves at the same time. Buzz! The ball made of intertwined runes vibrated violently. Then, a passage appeared in one of the places. Now, go in quickly. Remember, you only have 3 years in there. After 3 years, we will pull you out by force, one of the big shots shouted. Let's go. A dozen young men and women from the heavenly human tribe were the fastest. Their bodies flashed and they rushed toward the passage. Following closely behind were the core disciples of the big shots from the heavenly palace. Let's go too. Lu Ming and the other 39 first-class heavenly soldiers also moved and rushed toward the passage. As soon as they rushed into the passage, they felt the world spin. In the next moment, Lu Ming found that he had landed on a flat ground. Those who had rushed in before were all here. They didn't disperse. The aura of this world is indeed different from the outside world. Lu Ming sensed a little and felt that because this place was isolated from the outside world, it was naturally different from the primitive universe. Now, let's go. This time, all of you, listen to my command. Remember, my name is Yi Yu. At this time, a calm voice sounded. It was full of unquestionable meaning. Everyone couldn't help but look over. The one who spoke was a young man from the heavenly human tribe. He was tall and handsome with an unparalleled temperament. His golden hair danced like golden flames. The other heavenly human tribe members vaguely regarded Yi Yu as their leader. The core disciples of the big shots from the heavenly palace looked calm and didn't say anything. They remained silent. However, the first-class heavenly soldiers who were with Lu Ming felt a little uncomfortable. They were without a doubt the top geniuses in their respective tribes. Even in the entire primitive universe, they were top geniuses and were famous in the starry sky. Naturally, they were proud and arrogant. But now, Yi Yu was commanding them in such a high and mighty tone. Naturally, they felt a little uncomfortable. However, no one dared to object. Yi Yu was from the heavenly human tribe. The true ruler of the universe was the heavenly human tribe. Yi Yu seemed to know that no one dared to object. After saying that, he turned around and led the heavenly human tribe members in a direction. Everyone followed. At this time, Lu Ming sped up and came to the side of the four women who were shrouded in the dream power. "Hello, ladies. I'm Mu Yun." Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Everyone couldn't help but look at Lu Ming. This kid wants to hit on them? He's overestimating himself. The disciples of the Lord of Heaven in the dream power all have very high standards. Suddenly, some people whispered and laughed. Chapter 41:19. In everyone's eyes, Lu Ming was trying to strike up a conversation with the four disciples of the Lord of Heaven, a toad wanting to eat swan meat. The four disciples of the dream heavenly Lord stopped in their tracks. One could see that four pairs of eyes were looking at Lu Ming with indifference. "For girls, I want to block your beautiful faces first, I wonder if it's possible?" Lu Ming cupped his fists again. He wanted to confirm whether there was the mid-autumn moon in it. That big dream power not only blocked the appearance of the four people, but also blocked their life aura. Lu Ming couldn't judge by their life aura even if he wanted to. Therefore, only by letting them withdraw their big dream power could he make a judgment. As soon as these words came out, the four pairs of beautiful eyes immediately burst out with cold chi. At the same time, the faces of the other core disciples of the heavenly palace on the side also darkened. The faces of the dozen or so young men of the heavenly human clan were even gloomier. The other 39 first-class heavenly soldiers also showed a strange look. Lu Ming's words were a bit abrupt. "Boy, who do you think you are? Are the four goddesses someone you can meet whenever you want? You dare to speak rudely to the four goddesses. Now I'll give you a chance to admit your mistake to the four goddesses face to face." On the side, a young man shouted coldly, his body full of holy light. This was a heaven's pride of the angel clan, who was accepted as a core disciple by the Lord of Heaven of the heavenly palace. He was very talented and was known as a genius with a better future than Gabbert. However, Lu Ming merely glanced at him casually and ignored him. He continued to look at the four goddesses and insisted, "For ladies, please withdraw your big dream power and let me take a look at your beautiful faces. You're courting death." The heaven's pride of the angel clan shouted. He took a step forward and rushed towards Lu Ming like a flash of lightning. The moment he attacked, an angelic sword had already condensed and chopped towards Lu Ming's head. The sword chi whistled, extremely terrifying, and its power was astonishing. Ninth Godly Emperor Layer. As soon as the other party attacked, Lu Ming could tell that his cultivation level was at the 9th level of the Divine Emperor realm. However, his combat strength was extremely powerful, far above that of the 9th level of the Divine Emperor realm. Boom! Lu Ming's expression was calm as a black demonic sword appeared in his hand. Great Devil Sword Art. Clang! One black and one white, the two sword lights met in the air, erupting with a shocking boom. Then, a figure shook violently and took 3 steps back. It was that prodigy from the angel race. So it turned out that he could only fight those 4 levels above him. He wasn't that strong after all. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. Fighting across 4 levels was the talent of an ordinary candidate on the universe prodigy list. Lu Ming had thought that the core disciples of the big shots in the heavenly palace would be very powerful. If others knew what Lu Ming was thinking, they would probably be speechless. How many candidates of the universe genius list were there in the entire universe? In the entire universe, there were very few of them, as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Talents stronger than this, such as Ling Yue, the battle god, and Yuan Wan, were even rarer. Even the disciples of the big shots in the heavenly palace couldn't be that strong. In fact, even the core disciples of the big shots in the heavenly palace couldn't all be as talented as the candidates of the universe genius list. Many of them were slightly weaker. In the godly emperor layer, those who could fight those 4 levels above them were actually the best among the core disciples of the heavenly palace. However, Lu Ming himself was too abnormal, and most of the opponents he met were also abnormal. Naturally, he set his sights on them. Another point was that there were rumors about how powerful the core disciples of the heavenly palace were, which made him think highly of the core disciples of the heavenly palace. He thought that they were all like Yuan Wan, the battle god. Huh! At this moment, many people's eyes narrowed, and they were shocked. Even the dozen young men and women of the heavenly human clan were the same. They could clearly sense Lu Ming's cultivation level. Lu Ming's cultivation level was only at the 7th godly emperor layer, but he had defeated an angel of the 9th godly emperor layer in one move. What did that mean? Even though the angel race's prodigy hadn't used his full strength in that move, it was still terrifying enough. At this moment, everyone had a whole new level of respect for Lu Ming. However, the angel's face was flushed with anger. "Little boy, I want you to die," shouted the angel furiously. 12 pairs of wings stretched out from his back. Holy light dashed to the sky. He looked like the angel king. 12 battle swords condensed from holy light appeared around him. Die! With a loud bellow, the 12 celestial swords enlarged rapidly and transformed into 12 gigantic combat swords. They took turns slashing violently toward Lu Ming. At this moment, the angered prodigy of the angel race really used his full strength and raised his battle prowess to the peak. However, even at its peak, it could only fight someone who was 4 levels above it. Lu Ming used the Great Divine Wind technique and the Great Fragmentation technique. His palm was like a blade as he chopped out. Instantly, the void shattered, turning into a destructive wave that blasted towards the angel race's genius. Boom boom boom, in the sky, a series of explosions rang out. Powerful chi soared into the sky as the two sides clashed. However, the confrontation only lasted for a few breaths before the holy light was suppressed by Lu Ming. It trembled continuously before exploding with loud booms. The voice of the angel continued to retreat rapidly. At this moment, many people really sucked in cold breaths of air, feeling extremely shocked. Even after the angel race prodigy used his full strength, he still wasn't a match for Lu Ming. This was too terrifying. No wonder Lu Ming, who only had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer, had been invited to the core of the ancient divine court. He was qualified. Ah! That angel race prodigy had gone mad. He raised his head and let out a long howl. His hair danced in the wind, and his eyes were filled with terrifying killing intent. "Little boy, you're dead." The angel race's genius roared. A terrifying fluctuation spread out from his forehead. Then, an angel battle sword flew out. A great weapon of mass destruction. That was the angel race's great weapon of mass destruction. He flew into a rage out of humiliation. He wanted to use his great weapon to kill Lu Ming. "You think you're the only one who has a great weapon of mass destruction?" Lu Ming smiled coldly and took out the Zephyr Pearl. He was about to draw out the strong wind inside. "All right, that's enough." At that moment, a dignified voice sounded. It was the leader of the heavenly human clan, Yi Yu. As soon as Yi Yu spoke, the angel race's genius didn't dare act rashly. He withdrew his chi and looked at Yi Yu, saying, "Prince Yi Yu, this person is reckless and arrogant. He has no respect for anyone. He has offended his superiors. He must be severely punished." "I understand." said Yi Yu indifferently. Then, he looked at Lu Ming and said, "What's your name?" "Mu Yun," replied Lu Ming, truthfully. "Mu Yun, right? Very good. You're talented, but first, you offended the 4 disciples of the great Dream Lord of Heaven. Then, you attacked Jia Luo. Now, apologize to them. I can make the decision. After you apologize, this matter will be over," said Yi Yu. Chapter 41-20. Yi Yu ordered Lu Ming to apologize in a condescending manner. There was indeed such a rule in the Heavenly Palace. The core disciples of the Heavenly Palace's big shots had a higher status than the Heavenly Soldiers. In the past, even first-class Heavenly Soldiers were not qualified to come into contact with these core disciples. It was only during this special mission that Lu Ming and the others came into contact with these core disciples. Attacking a core disciple was indeed an offense. However, how could Lu Ming apologize to him? It was completely impossible. "This guy attacked me first. Can't I fight back? Also, I'm just curious about their appearance. I didn't mean to offend you, and there's no taboo, right?" Lu Ming said. Facing Yi Yu, Lu Ming also had an indifferent attitude. When other people faced Yi Yu, they were more or less in fear and trepidation. They were even respectful and reverent. However, Lu Ming naturally did not have such an attitude. Yi Yu frowned, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. Lu Ming's attitude made him extremely unhappy. He was already used to people being in fear and trepidation in front of him, and being inferior to him. As for Lu Ming, he was as arrogant as him. What right did he have? Who was he? He was from the heavenly human tribe. What was Lu Ming? He was just from the human tribe. Even the top 10 tribes were ants in front of the heavenly human tribe. No matter how talented Lu Ming was, he was still a despicable ant. How could he compare to the heavenly human tribe? How dare you speak to young Master Yi Yu with such an attitude? Kneel down and admit your mistake. Before Yi Yu could speak, another heavenly human tribe woman shouted. Lu Ming frowned. To be honest, from the beginning when he saw these heavenly human tribe people, their condescending attitude made him quite unhappy. At this moment, their attitude was even more obvious, making Lu Ming even more uncomfortable. Everyone is equal. What's wrong with my words? Lu Ming said indifferently. Everyone is equal? Ha ha ha, ridiculous. Our celestial race is the ruler of the universe, so who can be equal to us? Your way of thinking is already treacherous and should be beheaded. The woman from the heavenly human tribe shouted coldly. Her golden hair danced in the wind. A golden energy emanated from her body and enveloped her. This energy, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He discovered that the energy used by the heavenly human woman was completely different from the energy used by the other races in the primitive universe. It was not a type of divine power, but a completely new type of energy. However, this kind of energy gave Lu Ming a very terrifying feeling. Lu Ming involuntarily assumed a defensive posture. The Gale Pearl in his hand spun rapidly, ready to draw out the power of the Gale at any time. Done. At that moment, Yi Yu spoke again. She waved her hand and stopped the heavenly human woman. The heavenly human woman seemed to be afraid of Yi Yu. She immediately retracted her aura. Yi Yu looked at Lu Ming and her expression returned to normal. You're very brave. She's never been small. Lu Ming said. Is that so? Yi Yu smiled and said, I won't make things difficult for you. However, this team can no longer accommodate you. You can go. You'll be on your own for this mission. Young Master Yi Yu, the heavenly human woman wanted to say something but was stopped by a look from Yi Yu. Lu Ming was also a little surprised. He did not expect her to let him go. He thought that he would have to go through a big battle. Lu Ming looked at the four figures shrouded in the power of dreams. He was still unwilling to give up. He wondered if Autumn Moon was among them. Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. "Ladies, I'd like to inquire about a place. I wonder if you've heard of the Divine Wilderness?" Lu Ming wanted to test them with words. As he spoke, Lu Ming stared at the four women's reactions. The Divine Wilderness was, of course, the Divine Wilderness Continent. The Divine Wilderness Continent was just an inconspicuous continent in the Yuan realm. It was impossible for anyone present to have heard of it. The only one who had heard of it was Autumn Moon. If Autumn Moon was really among the four, she would definitely have a reaction after hearing what he said. Unfortunately, Lu Ming was disappointed. The four women did not have any reaction. "I don't know." One of the women shook her head. Her voice was very pleasant, but Lu Ming could tell that it was definitely not Autumn Moon's voice. The other three did not speak and only shook their heads slightly. Lu Ming was a little disappointed. Could it be that Autumn Moon was not among the four? "Mu Yun, young Master Yi Yu has already given you a way out. Why aren't you scramming? Do you want to die?" The heavenly human woman shouted coldly. Lu Ming glanced at her indifferently, then turned around and left very decisively. He guessed that Autumn Moon was not among the four. Otherwise, they would have some reaction when they heard the words Divine Wilderness. Lu Ming was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. "Young Master Yi Yu, why did you let Mu Yun go? This person is arrogant just because he has some talent. I don't think we should let him go," the heavenly human woman said to Yi Yu. "There's no hurry." Yi Yu smiled and said, "Mu Yun is very talented. He is definitely extremely rare among the major races in the primitive universe. If I can subdue him, it will be of great help to my position in the heavenly palace in the future." "Oh, the princess wants to subdue Mu Yun. I see." The other heavenly human people nodded. "That's right. Let him go first and let him suffer a little to wear down his spirit. When the time comes, I will subdue him," Yi Yu said. The competition in the heavenly palace was also very fierce. Although the heavenly palace was completely dominated by the heavenly human tribe, there were many important people who were also from the primitive universe. Some of them were extremely powerful and had a high position in the heavenly palace. These people often assisted the heavenly human tribe to gain power in the heavenly palace. Yi Yu naturally wanted to subdue some experts for his own use. If he could subdue a genius like Lu Ming and grow with him, he would definitely grow into a terrifying expert in the future. It would also be of great help to his position in the heavenly palace. With this in mind, he did not attack Lu Ming on the spot. Instead, he let Lu Ming go. If it were not for this, he would not have let Lu Ming go. He would have killed him on the spot. "Let's go and find the Archean's secret skill," Yi Yu said and stepped forward. The others followed. Lu Ming's body was like lightning. Soon, he was tens of thousands of miles away. Acting alone is exactly what I want. Lu Ming was relieved. He was eager to act alone. Even if he found the Archean's secret skill with those people from the heavenly human tribe, it would not be his turn. He doubted it. Even if the other party did not let him go, he would find a reason to leave. Now was the perfect time. Chapter 41-21. If he acted alone, the treasures and secret techniques he obtained would belong to him. If he acted with the heavenly human tribe or the core disciples of the heavenly palace, he probably wouldn't have a chance to obtain the treasures and secret techniques. With the other party's domineering personality, it was very likely. According to the information, there are many ancient ruins in the core world of the ancient divine court. Many of the secret techniques are left in these ancient ruins, in the form of jade talismans, or carved on some ancient stone tablets. Lu Ming recalled the information he read from the experts of the Heavenly Palace. If he wanted to find secret techniques, he would have to look for them in these ancient ruins. However, these ancient ruins were dangerous. There were some formations and traps, so it wouldn't be easy to obtain them. While thinking, he flew and searched for the ancient ruins. This world was very big. This could be seen from the secret technique runes outside. The runes with the 3,000 ancient secret techniques as the core were each as big as a planet. With so many secret technique runes covering this world, it was obvious how vast this world was. Lu Ming flew for 3 days in a row, but he didn't encounter any creatures of this world. On the 4th day, Lu Ming finally saw a city. Looking from afar, all kinds of creatures went in and out of the city. It was very lively. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. After thinking for a while, he retreated. The creatures of this world hated the people of the Celestial Palace because the Celestial Palace had destroyed the archaic divine court. If he was discovered, there would definitely be a great battle. It would be troublesome. It was better not to contact the people of this world. Lu Ming went around the city and continued to search for the ruins. Without a target, searching blindly was no doubt very slow. After a month, Lu Ming finally found a place suspected to be a ruin. In the middle of a mountain, there was a valley. In the valley, there were many buildings. These buildings were very old. Most of them had collapsed, and only the ruins could be seen. It was obvious that this was an ancient ruin. Lu Ming was elated. After searching for such a long time, he finally found a legacy site. He wondered what kind of rewards he would reap. Lu Ming was full of anticipation. He landed and started to search slowly. However, it seemed that too much time had passed. Everything had decayed. Lu Ming looked around but found nothing. Some metals seemed to be intact, but when he reached out and touched them, they immediately turned to ashes. Some jade tablets and talismans were the same. Finally, Lu Ming came to the depths of the ruin and saw several huge stone tablets standing on the ground. Each of them was 100 feet tall. Lu Ming was delighted because he felt a trace of spirituality from these stone tablets. This meant that they hadn't decayed yet. This also proved that these stone tablets were extraordinary. According to clues, many secret techniques, even ancient secret techniques, were carved on these stone tablets. Back then, the Grand Ancient Divine Court had carved these secret techniques on stone tablets so that their disciples could study and cultivate them at any time. Lu Ming hurried over. However, his face sank right away. The stone tablets were full of carvings. They seemed to have been left behind by various attacks. They were messy and densely packed. The stone tablets were destroyed beyond recognition. Lu Ming observed carefully and concluded that the stone tablets should have some content. Now that they were destroyed, the content on the stone tablets could no longer be recognized. There are secret techniques on the stone tablets, but they were destroyed. Who did this? Lu Ming frowned. His face was a little ugly. Judging from the traces of destruction, it was very old. Many years had passed. It shouldn't be someone from the Heavenly Palace who came in this time. Lu Ming pondered and came to 2 conclusions. The first was that 500 years ago, someone from the Heavenly Palace found this place and recorded the secret techniques on the stone tablets. Then, they erased the secret techniques on the stone tablets. The second was that the creatures of this world had erased the secret techniques here. Either way, Lu Ming found nothing. Lu Ming looked around carefully again. After confirming that he didn't find anything, he walked out in disappointment. It seemed that it would be difficult to get a big harvest this time. Lu Ming was hoping to find hundreds or thousands of ancient secret techniques. Then, he would be rich. Now, it seemed that he was overthinking. It wouldn't be that easy. After all, too many years had passed. Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His eyes were like lightning as he looked ahead. In front of him, there was a group of creatures in human form. They were flying toward him quickly. With just a glance, Lu Ming knew that these people were from this world. Lu Ming turned around and left without thinking. The people of this world were hostile to the people of the heavenly palace. So many years had passed. Who knew what kind of experts there were? Lu Ming didn't want to be entangled. Unfortunately, it was too late. The other party had already seen Lu Ming. As soon as Lu Ming ran, the other party quickly chased after Lu Ming. Sure enough, Lu Ming frowned. He increased his speed and flew at high speed. But the other party also sped up and chased after him. Lu Ming's face darkened. "Do you really think I'm afraid of you?" Lu Ming said in his heart. His body suddenly stopped. Then, instead of advancing, he retreated. He activated the battle formula to increase his combat strength by 6 times. His body was covered in dazzling light as he punched out continuously. Boom boom boom, streaks of terrifying fist energy pierced through the void and blasted towards those living beings. Given Lu Ming's current cultivation level, his prowess was simply too shocking and terrifying. The expressions of the living beings in this world changed drastically. "Be careful, hide behind me," one of the white-haired old men roared. His originally withered body quickly changed into a huge white ape. He waved his hands and held up a light screen, protecting him and the other creatures in the middle. Boom boom boom, a series of explosions sounded. Lu Ming's fist energy bombarded the light screen held up by the white ape. The light screen kept shaking, and the white ape's body was also greatly shaken. He took a few steps back, but in the end, he managed to block Lu Ming's fist energy. Divine Emperor, Level 1 Divine Emperor. Lu Ming's eyes flickered slightly. As soon as the white ape attacked, Lu Ming sensed that the other party was very powerful. He was in the Divine Emperor realm. If he was not in the Divine Emperor realm, he would definitely not be able to block Lu Ming's attack. However, the other party seemed to be having a hard time blocking it. Looks like the Divine Emperor realm is similar to the ones recorded in the books in the Heavenly Palace, a thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. According to the information he had read, the Divine Emperor realm was much stronger than the Divine Emperor realm. Ordinary Divine Emperors would not be able to resist the Divine Emperor realm. They would only be killed instantly. Even some talented geniuses would find it difficult to fight against those who were in a higher realm. Only the most monstrous geniuses of the Divine Emperor realm could surpass the gap between their realms. For example, those who could fight against those who were in the Divine Emperor realm. Chapter 41-22. Only the strongest cultivators of the godly emperor layer who could fight against cultivators who were 4 levels stronger than them could fight against ordinary cultivators of the first great supreme god layer when they had the strength of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer. They couldn't defeat cultivators of the great supreme god layer, they could only resist them. They couldn't defeat cultivators of the great supreme god layer. That showed how big the gap was. In the godly emperor layer, a difference of 1 level was enough to kill a cultivator of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer. The gap between a great supreme god and a cultivator of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer was 4 whole levels. For divine emperors, one could imagine how big the gap between them was. That was why ordinary cultivators of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer were like babies when facing great supreme gods. They couldn't fight back at all. That was also why the candidates of the Universe Young Geniuses list were all monstrous cultivators who could fight against cultivators who were 4 levels stronger than them. The candidates of the Universe Young Geniuses list could fight against ordinary great supreme gods when they had the strength of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer. That wasn't the case for great weapons. If those geniuses used great weapons, their fighting strength would be even more terrifying. Therefore, when Xue Yi Tsangming from the Blood Clan participated in the Celestial Soldier exam, people thought he should have gone to the third area instead of the second area. Xue Yi Tsangming was one of the candidates of the Universe Young Geniuses list. He had the strength of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. He couldn't fight against great supreme gods on his own, but if he used great weapons, he could fight against great supreme gods. However, when Lu Ming was at the 7th level of the Divine Emperor realm, he was able to compete with an ordinary Emperor God with his own combat power. He was able to gain a slight upper hand. "You're so strong." After the giant white ape retreated, it widened its eyes and stared at Lu Ming in deep shock. A cultivator of the 7th Godly Emperor layer had managed to push him back. That was terrifying. He had never seen or even heard of someone like that. He had never seen someone like that in the ancient world. "Die!" shouted Lu Ming icily. His eyes were filled with murder. It was just an ordinary god emperor. Lu Ming was completely capable of dealing with it. If he used a great killing weapon, it wouldn't be difficult to kill it. Lu Ming had spent 100 years in the Dark Universe. He had turned what he had gained into strength. His fighting strength had skyrocketed. Unknowingly, ordinary cultivators of the first great supreme god layer were nothing in his eyes anymore. As soon as he finished speaking, the Gale Pearl appeared in his hand. He was ready to draw out the power inside and kill all of them. "Wait a minute, we mean no harm." The white ape roared. "Yes, yes, yes. We have no ill intentions. Don't misunderstand." Behind the white ape, a young woman cried out. "No malice? Then why did you chase me just now?" Lu Ming said. He did not attack immediately. To be honest, he did not sense any killing intent from the other party. Ever since the other party had chased after him, he hadn't felt any killing intent from the other party. This was also the reason why Lu Ming did not continue to attack. "Young friend, it's a misunderstanding. You ran away as soon as you saw us. We thought that something had happened to you, so we subconsciously chased after you," the white ape said. "Yes, we chased you because we wanted to ask you why you ran away as soon as you saw us." "Wait. Your aura," as the young woman spoke, her eyes suddenly widened. She seemed to be very curious as she stared at Lu Ming. "Your aura. You're not a creature from the great ancient world," the young woman cried out in surprise. Her eyes widened as she stared at Lu Ming curiously. In an instant, Lu Ming's body emitted an extremely cold killing intent. It seemed that the other party had seen through his identity. Their next step was probably to attack him. He was not the kind of person who would sit and wait for death. He planned to take the initiative to attack. "Wait a minute, we mean no harm to you," sensing Lu Ming's murderous intent, the giant white ape yelled again. "Huh!" Lu Ming would not believe it. The information given by the Heavenly Palace was very detailed. The creatures of this world hated the Heavenly Palace because the Heavenly Palace had destroyed the archaic Divine Court. 500 stellar years ago, the creatures of this world would kill anyone from the Heavenly Palace as soon as they saw them. How could they not mean any harm? Whoosh! Lu Ming drew out a gust of strong wind from the Gale Pearl. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, the strong wind he drew out from the Gale Pearl was many times more powerful than before. The strong wind whistled and the void turned into chaos. The scene was extremely terrifying. The faces of the beings from the archaic world turned extremely ugly. "Back off!" the giant white ape roared. His expression was solemn because he could feel how terrifying the attack was. It could even threaten his life. He roared, erupting with all of his strength. He opened his mouth and roared, a shield flew out from his mouth. It was incomparably huge, blocking in front of him. At the same time, he pushed out his hands and a light shield appeared in front of him. When he set up the shield, the strong wind had already swept over. Boom! 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 Two terrifying explosions sounded. The white ape's body shook violently and flew back. He fell heavily on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. After Lu Ming used the Gale Pearl, his strength had completely surpassed him. He was injured in one move. No, I can swear on my life origin that we mean you no harm. The young woman's face turned pale, but she still stubbornly stepped forward and stared at Lu Ming. Oh. Lu Ming did not continue to attack. He stopped and said, "Okay, swear on your life origin." Lu Ming was not a bloodthirsty person. If the other party meant no harm, he would not kill the innocent. If they dared to swear on their life origin, it meant that they really meant no harm. Of course, if they did not dare, he would immediately attack without any mercy. "I swear, I can also swear," the creatures of the great ancient world did not hesitate. They all swore on their life origin that they meant no harm to Lu Ming. If they lied, their life origin would be destroyed immediately. Even the giant white ape swore an oath. They really swore. Lu Ming was puzzled. These people knew that he was from the outside world and meant no harm to him? It did not match the information given to them by the heavenly palace. However, if they could swear on their life origin, they would not be wrong. Lu Ming put away the Gale Pearl and withdrew his energy. There was another reason why he did not kill these people. It was too slow for him to find the relics here alone. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, with the help of the people of this world, things would be much easier. Chapter 41-23. Seeing Lu Ming restrain his killing intent and aura, the giant white ape, the young woman, and the others secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Ming had given them too much pressure just now. However, right away, the young lady blinked her eyes and sized Lu Ming up curiously. It was as if she was sizing up a rare treasure. After a while, she cautiously and softly said, Are you really from the outside world?" At the same time, the others also looked at Lu Ming curiously. "Yes, I'm not from this world." After a pause, Lu Ming said again, "Since you know I'm not from this world, you don't want to kill me?" "You don't want to kill me?" Lu Ming asked the question that had been on his mind, because this did not match the information given by the heavenly palace. "Why would we want to kill you?" The young woman blinked and was even more confused than Lu Ming. The giant white ape pondered for a while and said, "According to the old legends, the ancestors of the archaic world and the outside world were irreconcilable enemies. The ancestors of the archaic world were all killed by creatures from the outside world. But that's just a legend, and we don't know if it's true or not. How could there be any hatred?" Lu Ming understood. Too much time had passed, a whole 500 stellar years. What did 500 stellar years mean? It was equivalent to a star going from birth to destruction 500 times. It was too long. After such a long time, everything had faded away, including the hatred between the heavenly palace and the archaic shrine. After such a long time, the archaic world had been passed down from generation to generation. They had long forgotten the hatred between the heavenly palace and the archaic shrine. Many people had not even heard of the hatred between the heavenly palace and the archaic shrine. Even if they had heard of it, they only treated it as a legend. Lu Ming knew that he was overthinking. It seemed that even if the creatures of the archaic world knew that they came from the outside world, they were just curious and did not hate them. Understanding this, Lu Ming lowered his guard a little. "My name is Xing Qiao, what's your name?" At this time, the young woman became even bolder. She quietly walked up to Lu Ming and asked. "Mu Yun." Lu Ming said. "Mu Yun, how did you get in?" Legend has it that people from the outside world had only entered our world a very long time ago. I originally thought that it was just a legend. I didn't expect that there really was another world outside of our world. Xiao felt that Lu Ming didn't have any killing intent, so he became even bolder. It was as if he had opened up a chatterbox, chattering away and asking several questions in a row. Miss, the giant white ape was worried that Lu Ming would turn hostile and attack him. Although he was a celestial arch and Lu Ming was only a celestial emperor, he still trembled with fear in front of a celestial emperor like Lu Ming. He didn't dare to lower his guard. I came here because I have a mission. I want to find some ancient ruins here. Can you take me there? I can give you a reward. Lu Ming stated his purpose of coming here. Looking for ancient ruins? No wonder you were there before. Leave it to me. I know many ancient ruins, but they might not have what you're looking for. Xiao said. That's not a problem. Just take me there. Lu Ming said. They immediately set off. Xiao, the giant white ape, and the others led Lu Ming to the next ancient ruin. Miss, is it okay for us to bring him along like this? After all, he's from the outside world. What if he has any ill intentions? The giant white ape secretly transmitted his voice to Xiao. Don't worry, Uncle Yuan. I can feel that Mu Yun has no ill intentions towards us. He attacked us out of self-defense. Don't worry. I'm curious about what the outside world is like. I can ask him about it. Xiao replied telepathically. The giant white ape sighed inwardly. He knew Xiao's temper well. Once she made up her mind, it was hard to change it. He could only follow Xiao closely. If Lu Ming had any ill intentions, he would fight Lu Ming with his life. Xiao secretly chatted with the giant white ape for a while, then looked at Lu Ming and chatted with Lu Ming. She asked about the outside world. Lu Ming gave a brief introduction. Even if it was just a casual introduction, Xiao, the giant white ape, and the others were dumbfounded. The ancientness and vastness of the primitive universe made Xiao and the others yearn for it. I didn't expect the outside world to be so vast. But why is it that no one from the ancient world has ever been able to leave? Even the most powerful great emperor can't break through the world barrier. Is it because our world is too inferior? Xiao muttered to herself, unable to hide the loneliness in her voice. She wanted to go out and see the outside world. Unfortunately, the people of their world couldn't leave at all. Great Emperor? Should be the Great Emperor? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Then, he chatted with Xiao. It was different with someone leading the way. Soon, they arrived at another relic. This relic was hidden underground. They entered without any hindrance. This made Lu Ming even more confused. According to the information given by the Heavenly Palace, these relics were filled with all kinds of formations and traps. It was very dangerous. Before they entered, the bigwigs of the Heavenly Palace had warned them to be careful. But now, Lu Ming had found 2 relic sites in a row without any hindrance. They didn't encounter any danger, nor did they see any formations or traps. It was very safe. However, just like the last relic, they didn't find anything after searching around. These relic sites are too old. Even if there was anything in them, it has been taken away or rotted away. There's nothing left. Xiao said. Lu Ming was silent. He kept going deeper into the relic. In the depths of the relic, they found a secret chamber. It's like this again, the 4 walls of the secret chamber were full of scratches. It could be seen that there should have been something on the stone wall. There should have been some patterns or writings inscribed on it. However, all of them were destroyed. It was impossible to distinguish the original content of the stone wall. Lu Ming's face darkened. In 2 consecutive relic sites, he found stone tablets or walls that were suspected to have been inscribed with secret techniques. However, they were all destroyed and were a mess. There should be some writing on the stone wall. Why is it destroyed? Do you know who sabotaged this? Is it someone from the great ancient world? Lu Ming asked Sheng Qiao and the others. I'm not sure. Sheng Qiao shook her head and said, in fact, it's not just here. Almost all the relics that are suspected to have been inscribed with patterns or writings have been destroyed. All the relics? Lu Ming was shocked. Chapter 41-24. Lu Ming was really shocked. According to Sheng Qiao, all the relics that seemed to contain occult skills had been destroyed. Didn't that mean that their trip to the archaic world this time was in vain? They wouldn't be able to get anything? This situation was very different from the information given by the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming knew that the Heavenly Palace sent people here 500 stellar years ago, but 500 stellar years had passed in the archaic world. After 500 stellar years of evolution, many things had changed greatly. It seemed that the information given by the Heavenly Palace was useless. They had to make new judgments based on the information they had now. Can you take me to the next relic? I want to take a look. Lu Ming said. Of course. Sheng Qiao agreed readily. She couldn't wait to be with Lu Ming. Not for anything else, but mainly because she could learn more about the outside world by being with Lu Ming. Even if she couldn't go out, she could at least listen. In the next 10 days, they went to 2 ancient relics in a row. These 2 relics had places that seemed to contain occult skills, but they were all destroyed. They couldn't see the contents at all. Who was the one who destroyed the contents of the book? Was it someone from the archaic world? Lu Ming couldn't help but ask again. I don't think so. It said that the contents were destroyed a long time ago. However, some people speculate that the contents on these stone tablets and stone walls are witchcraft. They were destroyed by the people of the Sorcerer God Temple, Sheng Qiao said. But before Sheng Qiao finished, the expressions of the white ape and the others changed drastically. Miss, please be careful with your words. The white ape said hurriedly. Its eyes darted around, looking very nervous. Witchcraft? The Sorcerer God Temple? Lu Ming was even more confused. These 2 words were not mentioned in the information given by the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace shouldn't have hidden anything from them, because it wouldn't benefit the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace's purpose in sending them to the archaic world was to search for occult skills. The more occult skills they found, the better it would be for the Heavenly Palace. Therefore, the Heavenly Palace wouldn't hide it from them. Since the Heavenly Palace wouldn't hide it from them, it meant that 500 stellar years ago, witchcraft and the Sorcerer God Temple didn't exist in the archaic world. This was a new development. What are witchcraft and the Sorcerer God Temple? Asked Lu Ming. Well, the giant white ape and the others hesitated. They seemed to be very afraid and did not dare to say anything. Don't worry, I'll just to find out. Lu Ming said. Don't worry, I'll just to give you an introduction. Sheng Qiao was very brave. After telling the heavenly palaces to the Heavenly Palace, he began to explain. Witchcraft is the attack, defense, speed, and so on that we practice. Legend has it that in ancient times, there were a lot of witchcraft in these ruins. Unfortunately, they were all wiped out. Now, if anyone wants to practice witchcraft, they can only learn it from the Sorcerer God Temple. Sheng Qiao explained. Witchcraft? Is this a cult skill? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. You used witchcraft when you fought with me? Asked Lu Ming. Yes, what about it? Said Sheng Qiao. Lu Ming was sure that the witchcraft Sheng Qiao was talking about was a cult skill. Because what they used before was a cult skill. What's with the Sorcerer God Temple? Asked Lu Ming again. The Sorcerer God Temple is the Sorcerer God Temple. Anyway, the archaic world is ruled by 2 Sorcerer God Temples. The Sorcerer God Temple controls all witchcraft. If anyone wants to practice witchcraft, they can only get it from the Sorcerer God Temple," said Xing Qiao. The Sorcerer God Temple. Could it be that the occult skills in these ruins were all destroyed by the Sorcerer God Temple? Lu Ming came to this conclusion. At first, he thought that these occult skills were destroyed by the people from the Heavenly Palace 500 years ago. He thought that the people from the Heavenly Palace had recorded them and then destroyed the occult skills to prevent others from knowing about them. However, he later refuted this speculation because Xing Qiao said that all the occult skills in the ruins were destroyed. The Heavenly Palace clearly did not get all the occult skills back then. They only got a part of it. Otherwise, they would not have sent them here. Therefore, it was obvious that it was not the people from the Heavenly Palace who destroyed them. There was only one possibility, the Sorcerer God Temple. The Sorcerer God Temple destroyed all the occult skills in the ruins and then controlled all the occult skills. Controlling all the occult skills meant that they controlled the entire archaic world. If anyone wanted to practice the occult skills, they would have to get them from the Sorcerer God Temple. It seems that I have to get the occult skills from the Sorcerer God Temple if I want to get them. Lu Ming thought to himself. He then asked Xing Qiao for more information about the Sorcerer God Temple. There were two Sorcerer God Temples in the archaic world. One was the Great Sorcerer God Temple and the other was the Ancient Sorcerer God Temple. It was obvious that they separated the word archaic from the archaic celestial court and used one word each. According to Xing Qiao's introduction, the two Sorcerer God Temples were hostile to each other. For countless years, they had been fighting and killing each other for the control of the archaic world. However, the two Sorcerer God Temples were equal in strength. They each occupied half of the archaic world. After so many years of fighting, there was no clear winner. The area they were in now was the territory of the Ancient Sorcerer God Temple. It was ruled by the Ancient Sorcerer God Temple. Mu Yun, you came to this world to get the occult skills, right? You can come back with us to West Raven City. Soon, the Sorcerer God Temple's Sorcerer Emissary will descend on West Raven City and pass down a part of the occult skills. You might be able to get something then. Xing Qiao invited. The giant white ape was anxious. It secretly warned Xing Qiao not to bring Lu Ming back so as to avoid trouble. However, Xing Qiao ignored it. Sure, of course I can. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and nodded in agreement. During this time, they had met other people from the archaic world on the way. When they saw Lu Ming, they quickly realized that Lu Ming was not from this world. However, they were not hostile and did not have the intention to attack Lu Ming. They just looked at him curiously. This made Lu Ming certain that the people of this world were not hostile to the Heavenly Palace. They treated the events of ancient times as legends. Therefore, Lu Ming could go to the cities of this world without worry. However, Lu Ming still asked Xing Qiao and the others if there was any way to hide his outsider's aura. He did not want to be surrounded by people wherever he went. There is a kind of occult skill that can let you emit some of this world's aura. However, the effect is limited. Once you attack or meet someone with a higher cultivation than you, you will be easily seen through. Xing Qiao said. It's okay. It's good that you have it. I can exchange it with treasures. Lu Ming said hurriedly. Chapter 41-25. It was better than nothing. He did not need to be surrounded by a group of curious onlookers wherever he went. There's no need for an exchange. It's not too precious. I'll give it to you for free. Xing Qiao took out a jade talisman and handed it to Lu Ming. Thank you very much. Lu Ming did not stand on ceremony. He took it and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He already understood the contents of the jade talisman. It was indeed an ordinary secret technique. This secret technique did not change his aura. It was just a disguise technique. It drew in the external power of this world and covered his body with it. It could be used as a disguise to a certain extent. If one's cultivation base was lower than his, it would be difficult to tell without careful observation. Even if one's cultivation base was higher than his, it would not be by much. Without careful observation, it would not be easy to tell. However, once he attacked and his aura erupted, his disguise would be useless. It was better than nothing. Immediately, Lu Ming began to comprehend it. In just an hour, Lu Ming had successfully comprehended it. He activated the secret technique, and a force from the space was drawn over by him. It covered his body and concealed his original aura. How did he master a sorcery technique so quickly? What kind of speed is that? Xing Qiao, the giant white ape, and the others stared at Lu Ming with their mouths agape. They had never seen anyone master a sorcery technique so quickly. Even though it was only a low-level sorcery technique. Naturally, they did not know how terrifying Lu Ming's comprehension was. They did not know how many secret skills Lu Ming had cultivated. There were a total of 5,000 types of ordinary secret skills and other ancient secret skills. To Lu Ming, cultivating ordinary secret skills was a piece of cake. It was very easy for him to reach the entry level. He could do it within an hour. Of course, it would still take some time to cultivate them to greater mastery. "Let's go," Lu Ming said. At that moment, Xing Qiao and the others came to their senses as if they had just woken up from a dream. After that, they did not continue to the other ruins. Instead, they went to West Raven City together. West Raven City was considered a top-tier city in the territory ruled by the ancient Sorcerer Temple. There were only 13 top-tier cities like this in the entire ancient Sorcerer Temple. West Raven City was very prosperous. Countless creatures lived there. People came and went on the streets. However, Lu Ming discovered that there were very few people with higher cultivation than him. He walked around the streets a few times but didn't find many. Moreover, these few people with higher cultivations than him wouldn't stare at him specifically, so they wouldn't easily discover that he wasn't from the Archean world and had come from the outside world. As for Emperor God experts, there were even fewer of them. They were extremely rare. For example, the giant white ape was already one of the top powerhouses in West Raven City. The Xing family was one of the 3 great families in West Crow City. They were very powerful and occupied a large area with many palaces. Lu Ming told Xing Qiao not to make a fuss. So, when they arrived at the Xing residence, Xing Qiao arranged a courtyard for Lu Ming. It was very quiet and no one would disturb them. Lu Ming stayed for the time being. In a secret chamber in the Xing residence, several elderly figures were discussing matters. One of them was the giant white ape. The other 7 were the senior members of the Xing family. One of them was the patriarch of the Xing family, Xing Qiao's grandfather. The others were the grand elders of the Xing family. Each of them was a celestial emperor. What? Someone from the outside world? After hearing the white giant ape's report, the others were all shocked, their faces filled with shock. That's right. It's true. The young mistress has invited that person back to the Xing family. He is staying in the courtyard on the west side. The white ape said. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect the legend to be true. There really is a bigger world outside our world, one of the old grand elders sighed. Tell us about your encounter with that outsider, the patriarch of the Xing family said. Immediately, the white ape told them about their encounter with Lu Ming, as well as Lu Ming's purpose in coming to this world. You're saying that he is only a 7th-level godly emperor, but his combat ability is above yours? The patriarch of the Xing family and the others were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. They knew very well how far a 7th-level godly emperor was from an emperor god. They had never dreamed that someone could cross such a long distance to fight. According to legends, the outside world is more advanced than the great ancient world. There are more strong cultivators, and their legacies are longer. There are as many geniuses as there are clouds. It seems that it's true. Our great ancient world has never had a genius like that. We don't even have half as strong as him, let alone close to him. The outside world is really terrifying. The patriarch of the Sheng family sighed. Patriarch, it's been a long time, and no one from the outside world has come here. This time, they suddenly came. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. Now that the young mistress has invited them to the Sheng family, I'm not sure. Patriarch of the Sheng family has to decide. The ancestors of the outside world and the great ancient world have a great grudge against each other. But it's been a long time, and the grudge is long gone. Moreover, they seem to have come here for witchcraft. I don't think we need to make a big fuss. It won't be long before the emissary of the shaman god's temple will descend to West Raven City and bestow a new shaman art. After the ceremony is over, we'll report the situation of the outside world to the shaman god's temple and let them make the decision. The patriarch of the Sheng family said. You're right, patriarch. The others nodded. Of course, there was another reason why they didn't dare to act rashly, Lu Ming's strength. According to the giant white ape, Lu Ming was able to suppress the giant white ape by a little with his own combat ability. However, Lu Ming still had a trump card that he hadn't used yet. The white ape said that Lu Ming's trump card was very powerful. If he used it, he wouldn't have a chance to survive. The trump card he was talking about was naturally the Gale Pearl. In the following days, Lu Ming lived a carefree life. Sheng Qiao came to him every day to ask about the outside world. Lu Ming could only talk about a few things and deal with it. Fortunately, Lu Ming had seen a lot along the way. Sheng Qiao was envious of him and looked forward to it. At first, Lu Ming wanted to see if he could buy some secret techniques in West Crow City. However, he soon learned that witchcraft was taboo in the great ancient world. It couldn't be bought or sold. If the witch god temple found out, it would be dangerous. Sheng Qiao had already violated the taboo by giving Lu Ming the secret technique to hide his aura. The white ape wanted to stop it. However, this secret technique was only a low-level one. It was insignificant and didn't have much use. That was why the white ape didn't stop it in the end. Of course, if it was some other useful secret technique, Sheng Qiao wouldn't dare to teach it even if he was brave. Secret techniques, or witchcraft, had to be approved by the witch god temple. Chapter 41-26. Time flew, and soon, it was time for the emissaries of the ancient sorcerer temple to arrive. Today was the busiest day in West Raven City. The central square of West Raven City was packed with people and was very lively. The three patriarchs of West Raven City sat in three different areas. However, there was a seat in the middle that was left unoccupied. It was reserved for the emissaries of the sorcerer temple. Everyone waited quietly. About 2 hours later, suddenly, a vortex appeared in the sky far away. The vortex emitted a dazzling light, and then, one figure after another appeared. There were a total of 8 figures of different ages. Some were old, and some were young. They wore clothes of different colors, but their faces were cold and arrogant as if they were looking down on the world. The emissaries are here. Go and welcome them. Quick! The experts of the three patriarchs did not dare to delay and quickly flew to the front of the 8 emissaries. The Sheng family of West Raven City respectfully welcomes the 8 emissaries. The Wang family of West Raven City respectfully welcomes the 8 emissaries. The Niu family of West Raven City respectfully welcomes the 8 emissaries. The experts of the 3 patriarchs bowed respectfully. The 3 patriarchs need not be so courteous. An old emissary of the sorcerer temple waved his sleeves and said indifferently, "Emissaries, please take your seats." The patriarch of the Sheng family quickly said. Please, 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 the patriarchs of the other two families also quickly said. The experts of the three families welcomed the 8 emissaries to the central square and let them sit in the most dazzling seats. Then, someone immediately served wine and delicacies to the 8 emissaries. Naturally, there were people who secretly offered gifts. Although the 8 emissaries were here to impart witchcraft, it did not stop them from receiving some benefits and enjoying themselves. After 3 rounds of wine, the banquet finally ended. Alright, let's begin the witchcraft teaching. Let the youths of West Raven City come up and see who is fated with witchcraft. The one who spoke was the old emissary of the Sorcerer Temple. Yes. The patriarchs of the 3 families quickly responded and immediately passed down the order. Immediately, a large group of youths flew up and arrived in front of the emissaries of the Sorcerer Temple. There were the youths of the 3 families and the young prodigies of other forces in West Raven City. This time, they were mainly here to impart secret techniques to the youths. Sheng Qiao also went up. Lu Ming sat below and watched with curiosity in his eyes. What a strange race. What race are these messengers from the Sorcerer Palace? Lu Ming was very curious. This was because Lu Ming could not identify the races of the 8 messengers of the Sorcerer God Temple. Although they were in human form, their auras were very unique. Lu Ming had never seen them before. He felt that the 8 envoys of the Sorcerer God Palace were not living beings. But it didn't seem like a metallic life form. It was very strange. Lu Ming watched quietly. At this moment, the discussion on the imparting of witchcraft had already begun. The old messenger of the Sorcerer God Temple took out a statue. Then, all the young people knelt down respectfully in front of the statue with pious looks on their faces. Suddenly, the statue lit up and a ball of light flew out from within. It was the size of a longan fruit and flew towards one of the young men. It entered the young man's forehead and disappeared. The young man was overjoyed and bowed respectfully to the statue. As for the experts of the Niu family, a smile appeared on their faces. Obviously, that young man was from the Niu family and had already obtained the witchcraft. However, this was not the end. Following that, a few more balls of light flew out from the statue and flew towards a few young men. They flew into their forehead and disappeared. Obviously, those balls of light were witchcraft. Each ball of light represented a type of witchcraft. This is a type of spiritual imprint. Lu Ming whispered. After careful observation, he realized that those balls of light were very similar to spiritual imprints. It was reasonable for a spiritual imprint to contain a type of secret technique. The imparting of witchcraft was that simple. After that, balls of light flew out from the statue continuously. In the end, a total of 108 balls of light flew out, representing 108 types of witchcraft that had been imparted. However, there were more than 108 young people present. Naturally, many of them had not obtained the witchcraft imparted to them. Some of the young people had obtained more than one type of witchcraft imparted to them. For example, Sheng Qiao had obtained 3 types of witchcraft. This was very enviable. Those who did not obtain the witchcraft were very upset. Alright, the imparting of witchcraft is over. We should leave. The old messenger of the Sorcerer Shrine took the statue and announced the end of the ceremony. Farewell, messengers. Immediately, a sound like a tsunami was heard in the plaza. The 8 messengers were expressionless. They nodded indifferently and turned around to leave. However, before they left, the old messenger glanced at Lu Ming. Then, he turned around and continued walking. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared from the plaza. What did that glance mean? Lu Ming's spiritual sense was extremely sharp. He had noticed that the old messenger had glanced at him. Could it be that he has discovered that I am from the outside world? Lu Ming's heart stirred. That was very possible. The old messenger of the Sorcerer's Shrine had a very high cultivation level. He was definitely an Emperor Supreme God. Moreover, he might not be an ordinary Emperor Supreme God. His secret technique could prevent others from detecting him, but it could not prevent the old man from detecting him. However, Lu Ming was not too concerned. He already knew that he would be discovered. After all, the people of this world were not hostile to them. After the messenger of the Sorcerer's Shrine left, the crowd dispersed. Lu Ming returned to the courtyard of the Sheng family. How should I sneak into the Sorcerer's Shrine? Lu Ming frowned as he pondered. It seemed that he had to go to the Sorcerer's Shrine if he wanted to get a large number of secret techniques, even ancient ones. The secret techniques passed down by the Sorcerer's Shrine today were just ordinary ones. Lu Ming guessed that there must be some ancient secret techniques in the Sorcerer's Shrine. However, they should be of a higher level. Lu Ming was thinking about how to get into the Sorcerer's Shrine and get a large number of secret techniques. However, Lu Ming could not think of any effective way even after thinking for a while. I will read up on the information about the ancient world and the Sorcerer's Shrine. After a few days, I will leave the Sheng family in West Raven City. I will go to the Sorcerer's Shrine alone and see if there is a chance. Lu Ming thought. After that, he went to look for Sheng Qiao to get some information about the ancient world and the Sorcerer's Shrine. In the blink of an eye, it was late at night. Who is it? Suddenly, Lu Ming opened his eyes. They shone in all directions, aiming at a dark void. Whoosh! As soon as Lu Ming finished speaking, the void rippled. A pitch-black sword light shot out and pierced between Lu Ming's eyebrows at an astonishing speed. Chapter 41-27. A pitch-black sword light moved towards Lu Ming's third eye. It was extremely fast, and under the cover of the night, it was deadly. You want to die. There was a cold murderous intent in Lu Ming's eyes. He had sensed that the enemy had the strength of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer. A cultivator of the top of the 9th godly emperor layer could easily kill a cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer. But the enemy had bumped into Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He stretched out 2 fingers and pinched the pitch-black sword gleam accurately. Then, a silhouette appeared. He couldn't believe his eyes. He hadn't thought that Lu Ming would be able to block his attack so easily. It's you. Lu Ming was stupefied. His eyes were filled with murder. Lu Ming had seen the assassin before. It was one of the 8 envoys of the Shaman Shrine. Hadn't he left already? He hadn't thought he'd come back to kill Lu Ming. Tell me, why do you want to kill me? Asked Lu Ming icily. People from the outside world should die. Die. The emissary of the Sorcerer God Temple shouted coldly. His body changed rapidly and turned into a pitch-black sword gleam. The sword aura soared to the sky and it was more powerful than before. That's a secret technique? Lu Ming was stupefied. He was really stupefied because the enemy had turned into a secret technique. Indeed, the enemy's real body was a secret technique. A secret technique could turn into a living being. Lu Ming had never heard of such a thing. Suddenly, Lu Ming had an idea. The Heavenly Palace had told him that 500 years ago, the secret techniques of the ancient world had already gained sentience. That was why the deity emperors were sent here. Because the great ancient secret technique could sense the presence of great ancient divine emperors. It would be very difficult to find them. Since the ancient secret techniques could give birth to sentience 500 solar years ago, it wasn't impossible for the ancient secret techniques to become sentient beings after 500 solar years. It was even possible for ordinary secret techniques to gain sentience. The reality was right in front of him. The black sword light in front of him was a secret technique. Moreover, it was only an ordinary secret technique. Clang! Just as Lu Ming was in a daze, the black sword gleam had already pierced Lu Ming's glabella. There was a sound of metal colliding and sparks were flying everywhere. However, it did not even break through Lu Ming's skin defense. How is that possible? The enemy's voice came from the black sword light. I'll give you a way out. Lu Ming came to his senses and grabbed the black sword light with his hand. The forbidden force was activated, and the powerful force caught the black sword light. Then, he squeezed it hard. With a bang, the black sword light exploded. In the next moment, a rune fell on Lu Ming's palm. This is a secret technique rune. Lu Ming's eyes widened, and he was even more surprised. However, after taking a closer look, Lu Ming found that it was indeed a secret technique rune. The other party's spiritual intelligence had completely disappeared. Lu Ming had obliterated it. Could this secret technique rune directly fuse with his cells? Lu Ming had this thought, but now wasn't the time to test it, because the enemy still had people. Since you're here, do you think you can leave? Lu Ming shouted coldly and took a step forward. In the next moment, he rushed into the vast night sky. He reached out his hand and grabbed at the night sky. The night sky exploded. In the next moment, Lu Ming retracted his hand, and in his palm, he had caught a small snake. This small snake wasn't a real life of flesh and blood. It was also a secret technique. The enemy's form seemed to be the form of this secret technique. For example, if a secret technique could condense a small snake with a single strike, then the form of the secret technique would be a small snake. Just like in front of him. Speak, why do you want to kill me? Lu Ming asked coldly. Because you're from the outside world. The outside world and the great ancient world are mortal enemies. Since I saw you, I had no choice but to kill you. The small snake roared and struggled with all its might, wanting to rush out. It seems that the ordinary creatures of the great ancient world have forgotten their grudges, but it seems that they haven't forgotten about these secret techniques. Lu Ming thought to himself. Then, he clenched his fist and the small snake exploded, turning into a secret technique rune and falling into Lu Ming's hand. To think that I would get the secret technique rune directly by killing the creatures formed from these secret techniques, Lu Ming couldn't help feeling a fire burning in his heart. If these secret technique runes could be directly fused into his cells, wouldn't that mean that Lu Ming didn't even need to cultivate and could directly control them? If that was really the case, wouldn't he be rich? Whoosh! 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 That was when several figures flew out from the depths of the Sheng residence. They were elders of the Sheng family, and all of them had powerful auras as god emperors. One of them was the giant white ape from before. Brother Mu Yun, it's you. The giant white ape exclaimed softly. Senior Yuan. Lu Ming nodded. Patriarch, everyone, let me introduce you. This is Mu Yun. Mu Yun, this is the patriarch of the Sheng family, and the other elders, the giant white ape introduced them. Greetings, Patriarch Sheng, seniors, Lu Ming bowed. Come to think of it, he hadn't met the patriarch since he came to the Sheng family. What happened just now, Brother Mu Yun? The patriarch of the Sheng family asked. A few rascals tried to ambush me, but I've taken care of them. Lu Ming said, but didn't directly say that the envoys of the witch god temple ambushed him. Is that so? The patriarch of the Sheng family and the others appeared puzzled. Why would anyone ambush Lu Ming in the Sheng family? Everyone, it seems that someone is being unfriendly to me. I shouldn't stay here. I'll take my leave. Lu Ming offered a fist-palm salute and turned to leave, vanishing into the night sky. He stayed because he didn't want to implicate the Sheng family. He had a good impression of the Sheng family, and didn't want to implicate them because of Sheng Qiao. Soon, Lu Ming left the Sheng residence and disappeared outside West Crow City. It seems that the 8 envoys of the witch god temple didn't leave. I wonder where the other 6 are, let's see if the secret runes work. With that thought, Lu Ming took out the 2 secret runes he just obtained. With a grasp of his palm, the 2 runes melted into his palm and disappeared. They really fused into my cells. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He realized that the 2 secret runes had fused into 2 different cells. Let's see if it works. Lu Ming waved his hand, and a pitch-black sword light appeared in the sky, slashing out violently and cutting the air in half. Then, a giant serpent darted out, shattering the air. It really works. Lu Ming showed a look of wild delight. Chapter 41-28. Lu Ming tried the 2 secret skill talismans and realized that they were both useful. He could use them freely as if they were his own. Lu Ming was overjoyed. As long as he could kill these creatures, he would be able to obtain more secret skill talismans. Especially ancient secret skills. If he could obtain the ancient secret skill talismans, how much time could he save? How many merit points could he save? Thinking of this, Lu Ming's heart was burning with excitement. Sorcerer God Temple, since you want to kill me, don't blame me for being ruthless. A cold light flashed across Lu Ming's eyes. He then turned into a beam of light and flew towards a direction. This was the direction of the ancient Sorcerer God Temple. It was also the direction where the 8 messengers had left. Since the ancient Sorcerer God Temple had sent 2 messengers to assassinate him, the other 6 messengers should not have gone far. It was highly possible that they were waiting for news somewhere. Lu Ming flew quickly and spread out his spiritual sense to search for the remaining 6 messengers. Lu Ming did not fly far before his spiritual sense sensed that there were 6 messengers sitting cross-legged on a mountain peak in front of him. They were the 6 messengers from the Sorcerer God Temple. Swoosh! When Lu Ming's spiritual sense sensed them, the old messenger opened his eyes abruptly. His gaze was as sharp as a sword as he looked at Lu Ming. This brat is not dead yet. How dare he take the initiative to attack us? He's courting death. The old messenger's cold voice sounded, startling the other 5 messengers. Lord Divine Magus, what's going on? The other 5 messengers were still confused. That brat from the outside world is here. Get ready to fight. The old messenger of the Sorcerer God Temple said coldly. As soon as he finished his words, he soared to the sky and dashed in Lu Ming's direction. The other 5 messengers were shocked. Without hesitation, they followed the old messenger and rushed towards Lu Ming. In a few breaths' time, the 2 parties met. 6 pairs of sharp eyes landed on Lu Ming. There was a hint of curiosity and murderous intent in their eyes. Brat, where are the 2 messengers from the Sorcerer God Temple? The emissary of the Sorcerer Palace shouted. Since you want to kill me, you naturally have to pay the price. Lu Ming said coldly. In other words, the 2 of them had already paid the price. Brat, you're courting death. The old messenger of the Sorcerer God Palace was filled with killing intent. You're the ones courting death. I didn't provoke you, but you came to provoke me. Lu Ming shouted coldly and used the Greater God Wind technique. His body was like a phantom as he rushed towards the 6 messengers of the Sorcerer God Temple. Kill! Kill! The 6 envoys of the Sorcerer God Temple also attacked. Their bodies transformed into 6 different secret techniques and attacked Lu Ming. 5 cultivators of the top of the 9th Godly Emperor layer, 1 cultivator of the 1st Great Supreme God layer. The moment the other party attacked, Lu Ming was able to determine the other party's cultivation. The old envoy was the strongest, he had the strength of the 1st Great Supreme God layer. The other 5 cultivators had the strength of the top of the 9th Godly Emperor layer. Boom! 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 Lu Ming threw out punches continuously. More than 10 fist forces penetrated the void. The scene was extremely terrifying. The 6 envoys of the Sorcerer God Temple pulled a long face. "Oh no, it's dangerous. Ah, dodge!" shouted the 5 envoys of the 9th Godly Emperor layer. They didn't dare fight against Lin Feng, they wanted to dodge. However, with their cultivation levels, how could they dodge Lu Ming's attacks? The 5 messengers of the Sorcerer Divine Temple, who were at the peak of the 9th level Divine Emperor realm, were killed by Lu Ming and turned into 5 secret skill runes. Only the old envoy of the Sorcerer God Temple managed to block Lu Ming's attack, but he was also shaking. Your fighting strength." At that moment, the old envoy of the Sorcerer God Temple wasn't angry because the other 5 envoys had been killed. He was just astonished. He was astonished because of Lu Ming's fighting strength. He would have never thought that Lu Ming, a cultivator of the 7th Godly Emperor layer, could be so strong. His attacks could rival the old envoy of the Sorcerer God Temple, or even surpass him. That was terrifying. "Die!" Lu Ming shouted coldly. His body did not stop moving. The cells in his body were vibrating, emitting dazzling rays of light. Lu Ming activated his combat ability to the maximum and charged toward the elderly man from the Sorcerer Divine Temple. "You want to kill me? Impossible!" The old man from the Sorcerer God Temple roared. His actual body was a pitch-black divine pagoda. There were 9 light ribbons hanging down from it, suppressing Lu Ming. Its power was shocking. That was his real body. It was also a secret technique. Is that one of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques, the Great God Tower technique? Lu Ming's heart stirred. Since he had the ambition to collect the various 3,000 ancient secret skills, he naturally had a detailed understanding of the 3,000 ancient secret skills. He knew that one of the 3,000 ancient secret skills was called the Great God Pagoda skill. When he used it, he could condense a tower to oppress his enemies. It was extremely powerful. However, the Great God Tower technique was just an ordinary one among the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. It was the same as the Great Breaking technique. In the Merit Exchange Hall, it cost around 100,000 points. Lu Ming's eyes were twinkling. If it was really the Great God Tower technique, he would definitely get the talisman of that secret technique. Great Binding technique. Lu Ming's entire body was shrouded in a dazzling glow. He pressed his palms forward and cast the Great Binding skill. An invisible force emerged and entangled the Divine Pagoda like a python. In that instant, the Divine Pagoda froze. What welcomed it was Lu Ming's storm-like attacks. Boom boom boom. Lu Ming increased his combat power to the maximum and bombarded the Divine Pagoda with both hands. In an instant, he attacked at least 100 times. The tower shook violently and was sent flying thousands of miles away. It crashed into a dozen mountains and the 9 light belts on it became dim. The opponent was severely injured. How did you master so many ancient witchcraft? A shocked voice came from the tower. Ancient witchcraft? It's one of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Lu Ming had used at least 3 kinds of ancient mystic skills when he attacked just now. Obviously, the other party was very shocked. Soon, you will become one of my ancient witchcraft, Lu Ming said coldly and continued to attack the opponent. He realized that the opponent was slightly stronger than the giant white ape of the Sheng family. However, it was still not a match for Lu Ming. Even if he did not use any other powerful weapons, Lu Ming could still suppress the opponent. You monster! The ancient witch temple will not let you go. Before you came, I had already sent the news back to the witch temple. A loud roar came from the tower. Then, it turned around and fled at an astonishing speed. It knew that it was no match for Lu Ming and wanted to escape back to the witch temple. There were many experts in the witch temple and some of them could kill Lu Ming. However, how could Lu Ming let it escape? You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.